No black cats, just straight facts.
Triple P certified.
Listen, we can talk about odds all day. It doesn't matter what the odds are. It matters what's gonna happen. Okay, it's that time again, boys and girls. Welcome to Chill Parlay, the perfect parlay pursuit. Here I am. I got the smelling salts. Let's take a whiff. You guys check your mail yet? You get your salts?
Nah, I gotta check soon.
Oh!
The twofer.
It's a perfect parlay pursuit. Welcome. We're coming off of Neil Magny versus Colors practice. We'll give it a quick recap, quick breakdown. But we got to get into John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. John Jones versus Stipe Miocic, UFC 309, Madison Square Garden. Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira. We're going to break down the whole card for you, top to bottom. We're going to try to give you the perfect parlay. It's the perfect parlay pursuit. As you can see, I am still plus 68 units. Dan is down 183 units. Alex is limping along above water. Here we go, guys. What a
Only down 1 unit, though.
Only 1 unit down for Alex, it seems, based on his betting model. We were going to get into a lot of stuff today. First and foremost, Dan, Alex, how are your weekends? Alex, we'll start with you. What's going on, brother? How was your weekend?
I'm itching and scratching. I'm trying to tear my way. I'm crawling my way back. I'm trying my best. I'm playing with scraps here. You know, it reminds me of that Jersey Jerry. I'm like about to cry. I'm playing with scraps here. I have nothing left. We need to wait until payday, think things over, see if there's any opportunities on Thursday night. But we got to get back in the winning column because things are bad. Got robbed this weekend, not just in the fights. My credit card number was compromised as well. So we're all over the place. We're all out of funds. We have our funds are locked up. We're not liquid. We don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to get by. Dan, how about yourself?
Well, before Dan gets into it, Alex, you might not have to wait till Saturday to get some dry powder because I saw that Jake Paul is a only minus 220 favorite against Mike Tyson. Jake Paul, 27 years old. Mike Tyson, 57 years old. I didn't even know this was a bettable fight. So I had a buddy, kind of a casual. He texted me. He goes, "What do you think? Are you betting Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson?" I go, "Can you even bet it? I mean, it's an exhibition." I thought, right? He goes, "No, it's on DraftKings." I go, "Hold that thought." Pull up DraftKings. Jake Paul minus 220 on DraftKings. So somebody stopped me from betting $2,200 on Jake Paul to win a quick $1,000 for this weekend. I mean, he's 27. Mike Tyson's 57. It's the Jake Paul show. It's Netflix. It's prime time. There's no way in hell I see Jake Paul losing this. But a lot of people, I guess, are really, really hating on Jake Paul. There a lot of marks in the cheap seats are pulling for Mike Tyson. But unless Mike Tyson is a plus 1,000 underdog, you're not catching me throwing any money on a 57-year-old man in a boxing match against Jake Paul, who just competed against Anderson Silva, Nate Diaz, Tyron Woodley, 3 fighting age men, 3 men who are active competitors versus Mike Tyson, who hasn't had a match except that middleweight Roy Jones Jr. 4 years ago. So I'm thinking, let me lay everything. And then I see Jake Paul by decision is plus 330. Jake Paul by knockout is plus 125. How can you lose? But then again, I'm the guy who's only bet on Jake Paul. Who's only lost money on Jake Paul. I've only bet on Jake Paul to win in the one fight he lost against Tommy Fury. I bet against all his opponents in every fight he's ever won. So, but hey, if I'm betting on Nate Diaz at plus 330, why the fuck would I bet on Mike Tyson at plus 185? It doesn't make any sense to me. So don't come here if you think that I'm going to sit here and say Mike Tyson's going to knock Jake Paul out. I'm looking at how do I overdraft my bank account to bet on Jake Paul this weekend. And then, furthermore, going into this week's main event, going into this week's co-main event, I think I got some good reads. I also saw some other great, solid picks this week. So I can't wait to break down this card. Dan, you said you had a great weekend. How did everything pan out for you?
Yeah, had a really fun weekend over in Atlantic City, the rich man's Las Vegas. Great time, good friends, good people, good food, good dance, and all that good stuff. The only mishap there was the bets themselves. Now, I'll say this. I have changed my bet strategy, okay? For a couple months there, I was doing some crazy stuff. I would take $100, $150, $200, make a crap ton of bets out of them, and try to win the coveted 100 grand. Didn't pan out. So here's what I'm doing. I'm taking that 100, that 150, that 200, and just betting straight up on my 4 or 5 most confident picks. Now, I've had some pretty recent success. What got me here, what was the silver bullet for me in this past week's fight card was Denise Gomes versus Karolina Kowalkiewicz. Not that I had the loser, but I had the finish. What ran through my mind was what's her face? That tiny Jessica Andrade. No, Jessica Andrade knocking out Karolina many moons ago and just flatlining her. And I was like, okay, well, this is the younger version of Andrade, an older version of Karolina. Same result will happen, plus 215. And, I thought I was being smart. It was submission or knockout, just straight up finish. Clearly, it didn't go that way. She got the win. But, I think we're at the second wind, the second life of Karolina's career. And, she's always been a tough girl to get out of there. Plus, on top of that, it's the women's division. So, banking everything on a finish within any division of women's fighting is pretty foolhardy. So, at least I recognize my mistake, but I feel like I'm still on the correct trajectory as far as my betting style. And I think I'm going to be pretty confident in the coming weeks here, looking at our November and early December schedule. So all is well. We're good. We're going to be on the right path. Get it done.
Well, my weekend, so I was down going into the co-main and main. I took Renier de Ritter by submission and Pratis by KO round 1. And that caused me to almost pretty much break even, minus $80, right? But let me tell you this. If Jillian Robertson managed to get a finish, that's $860 swing right there, right? So that brings me above 2,000 in my thing. Jillian Robertson, you fucking suck. I don't care what Bisping says. You were right in your assumption of that fight. It's not enough, you're right, to be that much of a favorite and to not finish somebody that Angela Hill finished by submission. You do suck. That sucks. That doesn't cut it. Back to the bottom of the barrel for you. But even more so, if Denise Gomez got a knockout, I'd be up $2,786. So, I had a 4-leg parlay with Denise Gomez by knockout. I had another 4-leg parlay with Jillian Robertson by finish. Those were the only 2 legs that lost both of those. And like I said, if either of them had gotten the job done, Denise Gomez, you were fighting an old granny, literally the grandmother from Little Red Riding Hood, who the wolf impersonated, is who Karolina Kowalkiewicz crying on her way into the octagon, frail as frail could be. And Denise Gomez, who would step forward and crack her a few times, but then just reset. Denise Gomez, you're a fraud. You suck. Jillian Robertson, you also suck. Can't believe that you guys didn't make it happen for me. If you're that much of a favorite and you don't finish, what good are you? What fucking good are you, right? So, like I said, de Ritter by submission, he did get that done. And by the way, I bet him by knockout, but as he's walking to the cage, I hear everybody saying, "Oh, this guy is not a knockout artist. He's not a Dutch kickboxer. He's a submission guy." I go, "Fuck!" So I throw in real quick, Ritter by submission, and practice round 1, and that did bring me somewhat close to break even. Saved me, from losing on every other bet that I lost that night. Matthew Semmelsberger lost. Everybody did not do their part for me last weekend. But it was a card that I really didn't think too much of. This weekend, I think a lot of this card, I believe this one will bring me back above water into winning territory. What else can we say? Let's see. I mean,
Ramius boned me. Ramius was the one to all boats sunk with Ramius for me. Absolute terrible job. More so on the refs. I thought he won the judges. I thought he won that fight. Thought it was a bit of a robbery. Definitely can't give Bolaños a 10-8 round in any of those rounds.
In any of the rounds.
Insane. I thought he won, but that
any of size.
That really sucks. And Dracoli, absolutely terrible. He is one of the worst fighters I've ever seen. That was terrible work on his part. Damon Blackshear got the job done. Radke got the job done. DeRitter didn't look very impressive, in my opinion. I thought he was going to destroy Gerald Meerschaert. Didn't get the job done. I loved seeing the dude bash. What was that guy's name? Mansur Abdul Malik, when Dusko was going for leg locks the whole time. He was just bashing his face in. Loved that. Absolute. Great to see. But Ramius came in with some Aminari rolls and shit to get Bolaños down. Just how bad is Bolaños at defending takedowns?
The same ref that stopped the Dusko fight didn't stop Gerald by knockout in round 1 when DeRitter dropped him, pretty much knocked him out, right? At the end of round 1. I mean, so to me, it's like the inconsistency with the refs. And you know me, like, that ref is one of my favorite refs. But speaking of refs, I want to say this real quick. They're showing the highlights of John Jones' illegal 12-6 elbows. That's my Mandela effect, right? Because, guys, I swear to you, I watched that fight live. I swear to you, the ref was John McCarthy. John McCarthy was the ref that stopped John Jones with the 12-6 elbows. And yet, they're showing the tape, and it must be AI.
No, Luke.
It was not Steve Mazzagatti. It was
Steve Mazzagatti. It was Steve Mazzagatti. It was another one of those situations where Brock Lesnar would have punched the stupid mustache off his face. You need to realize that the reason you think that is because John McCarthy made the rules and was like, yeah, 12-6 elbows shouldn't be allowed.
Dude, this is my Mandela effect. I swear it was John McCarthy who stopped. And I even remember John in subsequent interviews saying, I don't like John McCarthy reffing my fights because of what he did with my 12. I remember even him interviewing about that and saying that he doesn't let John McCarthy ref his fights because of the 12-6 elbow thing. So I'm blown away. I really, really, really thought it was John McCarthy that stopped that fight. And you know what's so funny is that, like, so people don't remember, like, when John threw Matt to the ground, he dislocated his shoulder. Then he starts elbowing him. He does the 12-6 elbow. Mazzagatti stops it, takes a point away. Then asks Matt, are you done? Are you good? Are you good? And then he waves off.
Matt's deaf.
He didn't know what the fuck Mazzagatti was saying. He thought
his eyes were covered in blood. He couldn't see anything.
He thought Mazzagatti stopped the fight because he just got beat. He didn't know that he was asking him, like, can you continue? He just thought he was saying, like, are you okay? He didn't know what the fuck was going on. So what a crazy situation. But the only thing crazier than that would be if they reverse the decision. Because at the end of the day, the decision is the decision. Like, he did do an illegal move, and the fight, like, if you're going to reverse that decision, okay, so Peter Yan kneeing Aljo, reverse that decision then, right? Because we changed the knees to the ground and opponent rule. I mean, it makes no sense to change the decision. Like, and like Chael Sonnen says, what do you change it to? Should we just say, well, John Jones won by knee bar? Like, we might as well change it to whatever we want. I mean, it's like, what happened is what happened. So, I don't know. Not too much to say about last week's card. Anything else we want to touch on? I mean, Zach Scroggin, big point of contention in the comments, right? So I'm going to read a comment real quick that we have here. We had some comments on my algorithm, on the situation, right? So this guy, he comments, he says, big fan of the show. However, Luke's math is skewed when it comes to the probability of betting certified picks with a lower implied probability than the average Triple P accuracy. This is due to basing your thesis on the average accuracy of Triple P certified picks instead of a vector of probabilities. For example, large favorites like Pratis will likely outperform the mean, while plus money picks like Scoggins will likely underperform relative to the mean. That is to say, applying a fixed 68% to the most long shot Triple P certified picks would not necessarily be profitable. Not trying to debunk the algorithm, the math could still work out to outperform the betting odds, but I wouldn't expect a plus 400 pick to hit a 68% benchmark. So long term. So this guy right here, he's conflating several ideas at once, right? So let's break it down piece by piece. Okay. The profitability of betting Triple P certified picks with an implied probability better than the average of the accuracy. Okay, so that's just going off of the way Vegas does what they do, right? So we have a sample pool that is a certain percentage accurate. We're taking that pool and looking through that pool and only betting picks that are better than the accuracy rating of the pool itself, right? So he's saying large favorites like practice will likely outperform the mean. Okay, that is fair for the overall accuracy, but when you dwindle it down to the ones we're actually betting, Pratis is not included in the ones we're actually betting because he's better than the odds of the accuracy, right? So that's one area that he's wrong. Another area is plus money picks like Sounds will like underperform. No shit, they will underperform, but it doesn't matter if they underperform relative to the mean because what we're doing is we're betting picks that are better than the accuracy percentage of the average in the pool. So some of them will, yes, lose. Some of them will win, just like some outstretched favorites that are Shelby certified will lose as well. But the difference is betting those picks have a lower return value. So that's why we're not betting them because overall, long-term, they will be. You're right. Long-term favorites like Pratis that are Shelby certified will not perform profitable. That's why they're not included in the betting pool because they are over the threshold betting strike area, right? So then he says, it could still outperform the betting odds. Yes, it is outperforming the betting odds when you bet ones that fall within the window. So, and he says, I wouldn't expect plus 4 picks to hit at a 68% benchmark. Of course they won't. That is not what we're doing here. So I said that. He replied, he said, thanks for the response. I think we're on the same page, but focus on different places. I was suggesting that 68% accuracy could be skewed by including more large favorites like Pratis. That doesn't matter because they lose too. That's what he doesn't realize. When Roberto Despange at minus 500 is a trophy certified favorite, he lost, right? So that is saying this is not a valuable bet. It wasn't a valuable bet. He lost that fight, right? That he was trophy certified in. So yes, the ones that are outstretched favorites, sometimes they win, but they lose too. They lose at a rate higher than is profitable. I simulated this for a year and a half. He goes, with higher likelihood compared to underdogs like Chicago. If assumption holds, I suggest the benchmark will be more accurate when adjusted for influential outliers. Too long didn't read. The distribution may include more favorites than underdogs that are outside the range. The adjusted could be better for betting with higher confidence interval, lower standard deviation. I think if you were saying you bet all triple certificates that meet minus one better, it would be profitable on an aggregate. I do not disagree. Fuck you, Dan. He does not disagree. There you go. Thank you.
Get it? Okay. Now, no one else. Any questions? Save them. Save any questions.
Comment. If you are a mathematician or an actuary or somebody within the realm of statistical probability, please comment.
For the sake of this show's viewability, please do not ask any more questions about
I ran this through ChatGPT. The fucking robots agree with me. I even said to ChatGPT, I said, yo, look, I have this pool. It's this percentage accurate. So assuming that I take the picks from this pool and bet the ones that are better probability, would I be probable from ChatGPT said yes. So what the fuck do we know, right? We're not robots. We're not Elon Musk. We're not Nikola Tesla. But at the end of the day, that guy who pushed a little bit of resistance, I told him what the fuck is actually going on here, even though I spelled it out 6 ways till Sunday, and now he says he does not disagree. So, moving forward, we got a big card to break down. The women never do their job. We should have a WNBA of the UFC. We shouldn't even include them in the same betting pool or anything. I don't know why we did that. Scoggins, look, listen, just like with Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, I'm not going to bet on a 38-year-old guy against a 27-year-old guy. I'm not going to bet on a 57-year-old guy against a 28-year-old guy. It's a young man's game. The other Trilby certified picks, Melissa Mullins got the job done. Denise Gomez got the job done. Robertson got the job done. RDR got the job done. Pratis got the job done. The only Trilby certified pick that did not get the job done was Ramios, who, like Alex said, he thinks he won. He thinks the fix was in. I actually picked Bolaños. They swayed me into Ramios, so he really was not a true Trilby certified pick, let alone a bettable one. But Bolaños, I did personally bet on, so no worries there for me. 1 out of 8 trophy certified, or 1 out of 7 trophy certified was wrong. 6 out of 7 were correct last week. Or I'm sorry, 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2 out of 7 were wrong. 5 out of 7 correct trophy certified. 5 out of 7 trophy certified were correct last week. So Paj didn't make it to the fight. It is what it is. I can't change the odds. I can't change the picks.
Yes, I've made mistakes. All I can do now is apologize and move on. I don't know what. Oh, guys. Okay. Can I just?
Yes, please.
All I can say is I've made mistakes. Yes, I have smoked crack cocaine.
What are you gonna do? Sorry, hey, I was gonna bet $200 on Zach Scoggins to win 1,000. I eventually had to say to myself, Luke, don't let the stats drive the horse here. This is probably going to be one of those ones where you bet 100 and lose 100 tonight on the one Triple certified betting pick. So,
Andy missed weight.
Oh, short notice. And Brazilian birth certificates, let's be real, Brazilian birth certificates are not, he might not be 38. He might be 32. We don't even really know how old this guy is. So,
why would you say you're older? Unless you're trying to play Little League Baseball.
Because you want to get, I'll tell you, because you want to get Social Security benefits. Sooner.
36?
Sooner. No, he wants to get them when he's 57 instead of 63. He wants to get, he wants
That's
to get
really
out.
playing the long game.
That's a, whatever you got to do in this world, right? All right. So let's just jump right into next week's card. Last week's card sucked ass. There's nothing to even really say about it. It was bad. I don't care that there were a lot of finishes. Nobody gives a fuck. Next week we got UFC. So before we get into UFC 309, I want to touch on some notes here. We have a weird month coming up, guys. So not only do we have Madison Square Garden, right, an epic card, UFC 309, Jones, Miocic, Oliveira, Chandler, Bo Nichols fighting, Marcio Rufi's fighting. We got a lot of great fights here, right? But on the same weekend, we got Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson free on Netflix, right? Free money on Jake Paul. Then the week after next, we have UFC China, UFC Macau. It starts at 3 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. What an interesting thing we got going on here. So 3 a.m. start time for UFC Macau. Then we have a break week. Okay, first week of December break week. Following week we come back. We got Ian Gary versus. Am I right about that? We got. Let me make sure I'm correct. So next weekend Jones. Weekend after that UFC China 3 a.m. start time. Break week followed by UFC 310. No main event yet. That's supposed to be Bilal versus Shavkat. Who knows what's gonna happen? Is it gonna be Usman versus Shavkat? Is Pereira gonna come in and fight fucking who's the light heavyweight that Pereira could fight? Anthony Smith. I mean, then we got 12-14. Ian Gary versus Joaquin Buckley, everybody. Joaquin Buckley is fitting the fucking Piper Perry Ian Gary's ass. So we got a lot going on. If you laughed at that, shame on you. Man of culture. Anyway, I think Buckley's going to fuck Ian Gary up, dude. I think he's going to put him in the chair. I think he's going to put him in the corner of the room, dude. I think he's going to fucking say, hey, where's Layla's fine ass at? He's going to be like, hey, where's Layla fine ass at? I think that's going to be the story of Ian Gary. Happy Veterans Day to everybody watching. Happy Veterans Day. We're coming in here on a Monday, not a Tuesday. I know we're kind of confusing the algorithm here, doing nothing for our channel, nothing for our continuity, nothing for our predictability, but we had to get it in today. Doing it early for you guys before the Rams take on the Dolphins. Quick pick. I think the Rams are going to rip the Dolphins' neck off, shit down their throat, fucking go full-blown, fuck are you, whale? Fuck are you, Dolphin? I think they're going to eat the Dolphins. I think they're going to make maki out of the Dolphins. I don't know what to say. I mean, I hate Mike McStudy. I hate fucking that fucking whiz kid nerd with the fucking Virgil Abloh shoes and his fucking dorky glasses. I really hope he gets carjacked in Miami legally and under the sanctified unified rules. I can't stand that fucking nerd. So I hope he goes to LA. I hope all his guys are hanging out with fucking hype house influencers and hanging out with all the LA thoughts. And I hope they're weak in the knees. And I hope the Rams with Dana White's boy, what's his name? Tuca. What's that kid's name?
Puka Nakua.
Puka Nakua. I hope Dana White's boy, Puka Nakua. I hope he beasts out. I hope Cooper, what's his name?
Cup.
Cooper Kupp. I hope Cooper Kupp has a great game. Matt Stafford, even though I will say Matt Stafford, him and his wife dressed up as Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, and everybody I've talked to agrees, ew, gross. Dressing up as another player in your league for Halloween, cringe, lame,
Not cool. Yeah.
not cool. You know, I had a dream last night that it was Halloween. I was dressed up as the devil, and I see none other than Kanye West. Kanye West. I'm in New York City. I'm in a shop. Right. This is my dream. I'm in a shop, and Kanye West comes in, and he's dressed as an alien. And his alien costume, he had a sign, and it said, "Come here, come up here. I got something to tell you." That's what it said. Like, beam me up. I got something interesting, right? So Kanye comes in. He sees me in my devil costume. He daps me up. He gives me a bro hug. He was so happy to see me. I was happy. He was like, "What are you and the family doing?" I'm like, "We're just trick or treating." You know how he's like, "I'm gonna hang out with you guys all night." And everybody's taking pictures of Kanye. Like, "Who's this guy?" And I was like the cool guy. They were like, "Yo, Luke, this guy. Who's this guy who knows Kanye?" Like, everybody was like, and I knew Kanye in the dream. Like, him and I were like close friends. You know what I mean? Very cool dream. I'll tell you about another part of my dream later, guys, off air. But really, really cool dreams all night. And I did a 5-day fast. I broke it on Saturday. I am one with the Lord. I am one with the light. You know, my God is a very fine God, and I'm moving into the John Jones card with clarity and foresight and insight. Can't wait to break this card down for you guys. So without further ado, UFC 309, John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Let's take it from the bottom, go all the way to the top. Let's warm up a little bit, boys. We got Veronica Hardy versus Eduardo Mora. Couple fights that were interesting that got pulled off the card. David Onama was supposed to fight Lucas Almeida. That fight got moved a couple weeks out. Charlie Campbell was originally supposed to call Marcio Rufi. Rufi's got a new opponent. Pratis was going to fight Randy Brown. That got jumped to last week. Krylov versus Mirzakhanov. Nobody cares. Anyway, first fight of the night, Veronica Hardy, a.k.a. Veronica Macedo, Dan Hardy's wife, taking on Eduardo Mora. This is the chick who nicknamed herself Rhonda, who apparently was, good with the arm bars, but came into the UFC off the Contender Series and knocked out Montserrat Conejo Ruiz, Montserrat Rendon a year ago. 4 months ago, goes in there, split decision against Denise Gomez. Denise Gomez, who we couldn't be lower on. Fuck you, Denise Gomez. Other than that, she's a plus 125 underdog, 30 years old, taking on the 29-year-old Venezuelan out of England, Dan Hardy's girl, who hasn't lost in 4 years and 7 months against decision, the 1-0 Bia Malecki. After that, beat Juliana Miller. That was coming off. She submitted Polyana Viana and then beats Juliana Miller, beats Jamie Lynn Horth, beats JJ Aldrich. Veronica Hardy, shouts out to her. She could be 2 inches shorter, 2 inches less of reach. But to me, minus 160 on Veronica Hardy. She's been a big underdog in a lot of her fights. But I think she's stellar. I think she's smart. I think some of her ways of winning, she beat the fuck out of Juliana Miller. Head kicked her, almost knocked her out. She's been really outperforming her opponents. So I think she should have been kind of a favorite against a lot of these opponents she was an underdog in. The line has sort of corrected itself. You kind of missed the value if you've been looking to bet on Veronica Hardy. But I'm going to stick with Veronica Hardy. I think she's going to get the win here. I'm taking Veronica Hardy, and I'm taking her to win against Eduardo Mora. Simple as that. What do you guys think, though?
I'm liking Hardy as well. She's always put on these, big pay-per-view cards, albeit on the prelims and pretty low, down there. But the UFC, I think, thinks very highly of her. I think highly of her as well. Like Luke said, improving every fight, looking to make big-time changes to her game from her first stint in the UFC. And I like the fact that she does the, whatever it's called, the lizard breakdown with Dan Hardy, whatever that's called. She's breaking down fights. She's actually invested in the game. So that speaks volumes to me. She's a gamer. She's looking to, take her style to the next level. And, Eduardo Mora might be something. I'm not really too sure. Still very early on in her UFC career, but I'll take the veteranship and the experience and the rising stock and the UFC buy-in of Veronica Hardy, and I'll take that for my first pick of the night.
She's been groomed the right way by Dan Hardy, right? You could look at other fighters who have UFC boyfriends who've been kind of led down the wrong path. Rose Namajunas comes to mind.
That's fucking illegal.
she's listening. I feel bad for her home life. You know what I mean? Like, can you imagine living with? You see Pat Barry in her corner. He's erratic. He's out of control. So I think that Dan Hardy, a stable source of information and knowledge, taking her down the right paths. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to go with Hardy, but I don't know if I really want to triple P certify this. I'm not that confident in it. I think that it's, a coin flip in a lot of these ladies' fights, and just because you date Dan Hardy doesn't mean anything. I'm going to, I don't know, because Bia girl stinks. She only has 3 professional fights. She lost in the Ultimate Fighter as well, so she's 2-2. If you really think about it, 50% record early on. Yeah, she was on the UFC stage pretty early, but she hasn't fought since that Veronica Hardy fight. Or no, she actually got knocked out by Denise Gomes or something like that. Hasn't fought since 2021. And if Hardy's losing to her, I mean, maybe that was before the Dan Hardy, before she got some reptilian brain. Haha. I'll go with Hardy. Triple P certify Hardy.
Triple P certify Miss Hardy. Mrs. Hardy, thank you very much, Alex. Next, we got Oban Mercier Elliott versus Basil, this Old Spice Hafez. Basil Hafez, a lot of common ground we have here. Alex has touched the man. Alex has smelled the man. To be honest,
Pinned the man, submitted the man.
Never. My ass kicked bad.
Well, I think this fight is very interesting to me. So Basil's coming in as an underdog, and with what reason, right? I mean, with what reason do we have to put him in underdog?
Elliott's amazing.
Yeah, split decision against Jack Della Maddalena. Fair enough. A lot of people thought he won that fight. He comes back, bounces back. Sure, he should have finished Mickey Gall, but that was a pretty much dominant performance. Basil Hafez 9-4, but has he ever been finished? I think all 4 of his losses, yeah. Every time he's lost, it's been by decision, and a lot of those splits. Oban, the Welsh gangster, he had a really, really great, dominant performance against Pressure Preston Parsons, but that was due to the wrestling, a lot of it. And I think Pressure Preston Parsons kind of didn't see that coming in a lot of ways. I think that he thought he was going to be in a striking match with this guy. He's one of those few Welsh kind of European guys that can wrestle. He's 26, so he's going to be 6 years younger than Basil, who's 32, not quite over the hump of the 170-pound threshold of 35, 32. So wouldn't really want to put him in the same boat as too old for the weight class. I think we're getting a lot of recency bias on Oban Elliott Mercier. I don't think he's going to have the wrestling success he did against Pressure Preston Parsons, against Basil Hafez. Could I see him getting Basil to the ground? Yes. But I think Basil is, a valuable underdog here to take. I don't like the decision against Val Woodburn. I don't like that this guy, has had 3 decisions in a row coming off a decision win to get him into the UFC, and back-to-back decisions in the Contender Series, the Cage Warriors, right? So you got to remember, just 2 years ago, Oban Elliott went to a decision against Sean McCormick, 2-1 record in Cage Warriors. Then goes to decision against James Sheehan, 6-2 in Cage Warriors. Then beats Calic Brito by majority decision a year and 2 months ago in the Contender Series. 8 months ago, beats Val Woodburn, who Bo Nickel easily dispatched, right, on the feet. Bo Nickel, the wrestler, knocks this guy out on the feet. Then Pressure Preston Parsons, right? Yeah, he kind of Pressure Preston Parsons. But that was 3 months ago. I don't know that. I think this is a big jump up in competition. I think Hafez, with his 1-1 UFC record, is kind of being undervalued here. I think this is kind of like catching the knife of Basil Hafez. I really believe in the Habibi. I'm taking Basil Hafez to get the job done against the Welsh gangster. So Basil Hafez, first underdog pick of the night for me. I'm taking Basil Hafez. I think that he's going to withstand the takedown offense, and he's going to put the power on the Welsh gangster. He's going to smack him around a little bit. Give me Basil by decision, but also by travel time. He's coming up from Pennsylvania right to New York City, Wales to NYC, right? So that means that this fight is going to be taking place at a time that is 6 hours earlier than
I think he trains in Colorado. Sorry.
Okay.
But still closer.
it says he trains at Shore Mixed Martial Arts with Jack Shore, who, let's be real, Jack Shore sucks.
No, I was saying Basil Hafez.
Oh, okay. Well, either way, American
Yeah.
in America, familiar with the East Coast. Give me Basil Hafez all day, all night, especially at these odds. Great value. I'm taking Basil Hafez.
I am not super confident in this one. I feel like this is going to be contested a lot on the feet. We've seen Basil get a little tired later into these fights, a little deeper into these fights, look a little sluggish, a little labored on the feet, labored punches, struggling to get the fight to the ground, taking shots, and ending up losing on damage, even though he does get some decent control time. Maybe it be in the first round or the second round, but not enough in that second round. And then into the third round starts to not be able to get those takedowns. We've seen it before. And Oban Elliott is a good grappler. As Luke said, like Pressure Parsons was surprised by the level of grappling that Oban Elliott has. Yeah, Oban Elliott hasn't faced the same level of competition as Basil Hafez, but I think this is going to be a tightly contested fight. I'm rolling with Hafez by decision. I'm not in love with it. I'm not going to keep it on all my parlays. I like Hafez a lot. I've met him. So, that always gives a little bias in that regard. I'm going to go with him on this one. I think it's going to be a super close fight. And don't be surprised if it's a similar, like, you think Hafez won, but they give it to Oban Elliott just like they did Jack Della Maddalena, just because he's getting more damage. And I think that Hafez is going to have less success in the wrestling than he did against Jack Della against Oban Elliott. I think he's going to have a lot harder time grappling with Oban Elliott than he did Jack Della Maddalena, because Jack Della Maddalena gave no resistance to those takedowns whatsoever.
Yeah, let me break the chain here, break the Triple P certification, go with Oban Elliott. I disagree that Basil is being undervalued. I think he's being overvalued still based on the JDM performance, which, in my opinion, JDM was kind of giving him
short
everything.
notice. UFC debut, short notice.
Yeah, but listen, when you go for like 17 freaking guillotine attempts that were clearly just never going to work, you just give them to the guy and essentially give him top position to a guy who is a wrestler or a grappler, whatever you want to call him, but clearly not a striker. You're giving the grappler the top position multiple times. It was comedic almost. I think that fight was way closer than it should have been. And I think he's still riding high, at least in the gambling community, off of that performance and the name that he was fighting. Whereas I think Oban Elliott, he's still very young in the UFC career. Really, nobody knows him outside the hardcores. And he's a tremendous grappler. Like, he can really get it done. Preston Parsons is a grappler in his own right, good old American wrestling, and he gave him the what for. So,
all right, well, let me tell you this real quick. Pressure Preston Parsons, he's lost by knockout to Daniel Rodriguez. He lost by decision to Trevin Giles. He beat Matt Semmelsberger by decision, but how has Matt Semmelsberger looked as of late? And he lost to Mike Perry, Pressure Preston Parsons.
By knockout?
Yeah, by knockout in the first round.
Okay,
So,
but that tells me that, like, okay, so like
what we're trying to say is
strikers are knocking him out. Big deal. He won by wrestling.
Pressure Preston Parsons has fought nobody and won against nobody besides Semmelsberger, who is on a huge losing streak. Oban Elliott has fought nobody and has beaten nobody except Pressure Preston Parsons, who has beaten nobody, right? Pressure Preston Parsons, what's his name? Oban Elliott. He lost to Michael Figlak. Michael Figlak lost to Austin Hubbard, lost to Faraz Yam. He's beaten nobody, right? At least Oban Elliott fought guys like Jack Della Maddalena on short notice in a fight that, Jack Della Maddalena is being looked at for a title shot.
But he didn't win. He didn't win.
Right, and he fought competitively on a short notice situation.
Yeah, but sometimes short notice is an advantage. Like, I don't know. I feel like that was.
A lot of people think he won that fight.
You go in that fight thinking that you got nothing to lose. The other guy's like, all right, whatever. Like, short notice he goes in with.
It's short notice for both of them. It's short notice for both of them.
He's the no, but yeah.
I mean,
well,
listen,
get the training at least. But I see what you're saying, Alex.
put it this way. Put it this way.
At this
While-
level, these guys should be training every day, regardless of if they have a fight lined up or not. Maybe it's not with the same intensity, but it's short notice for both of them. Jack Della Maddalena could have been going against, somebody who that guillotine might have worked on. And he had been training that guillotine for, the whole entire camp, and he was going for it the entire time. And Basil's just a bad matchup for him. It's just a complete switcheroo on him. It's a mind fuck either way.
Around the same time that Oban Elliott was losing to 2-0 Michael Figlak, winning by, decision against 2-1 Sean McCormick. Around the same time, Basil Hafez was taking Jeremiah Wells, who trains with Sean Brady, Joe Pfeiffer, to a draw around the same time when he was 3-0, right? So it's like, I just think Basil Hafez has fought a lot better of competition. I think that this is going to be like a huge step up in competition unexpectedly. A lot more to gain, a lot more to lose in terms of a lot more to gain for Basil Hafez, a lot more to lose for Oban Elliott. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's glaring. I'm going with Hafez, but I get what you're saying, Dan. Oban Elliott looked really good against pressure polishes. Certainly surprised me with the wrestling. So fair enough. We won't triple certify him.
I would say don't sleep on the Cage Warriors guys. We talk about a lot of these guys coming up. They're fighting jungle fights and MILF wars. And it's like, oh, this guy's really somebody. He's fighting Cage Warriors. It's a respectable organization.
Very, very CFFC level. It's probably better.
It was when McGregor was there. What is it still? We don't know. You guys aren't watching.
Still is. Patty the Batty comes from Cage Warriors. Oban Elliott comes.
That was a while ago. That was also a while ago. That was And Patty the Batty fucking stinks. Patty the Batty fucking stinks. So all right. Either way, 7-6 Mickey Gall versus 10-5 Ramiz Brahimaj.
I reckon that Ian Gary probably came from Cage Warriors as well. Sorry.
Again, Ian Gary, who. The striker, Ian Gary, who couldn't strike with Michael Venom Page, who's an elite striker for sure, but older. If you're the young shit striker, like Darren Till fought Wonder Boy. And yeah, people think he lost that fight, but Darren Till sucks way worse than Darren Till's ceiling's a lot lower than Ian Gary's potential ceiling based on what people say. And he beat Wonder Boy, right? Whereas Ian Gary could an equivalent to Wonder Boy in the form of Michael Venom Page, Ian Gary couldn't even hang with him on the feet whatsoever. Right? Think about that. I'm drawing a lot of comparisons here. I hope you guys can keep up. But either way, let's move on. Mickey Gall versus Ramiz Brahimaj. Bottom of the barrel, garbage pail fight. Two garbage fighters. I have no respect for Ramiz Brahimaj. I have not in 2 years, 9 months. That is when he failed to beat 20-10 Court McGee. He lost 2 years, 9 months ago to Court McGee. Have not respected him since. Then he chokes out Michael Gilmore. The only reason Michael Gilmore's even in the UFC is because he didn't make it onto the Ultimate Fighter house. Dana White said, sit back, chill out in Vegas. He brought him into the Ultimate Fighter house. Dana White owed him a favor, gave him the Ramiz Brahimaj. He's 6-4. Ramiz choked him out. Fair enough. That was 2 years, 8 months ago. That was a month after he lost to Mr. McGee. Hadn't fought for 2 years. Goes in there and loses to Themba Garimbo, right? So how could he be lower on Ramiz Brahimaj? He couldn't be, right? 31 years old. Yet he's coming in here a pick'em against Mickey Gall, who's on a 3-fight losing streak, loses to Alex Morono, loses to Mike Malott by finish, and then loses to Basil Hafez 5 months ago. So to me, Mickey Gall's fighting for a job he doesn't want, right? Mickey Gall, spoon-fed, pampered little baby the whole time, comes in off of Dana White looking for a fight, calls out CM Punk, beats CM Punk, calls out Sage Northcutt, loses to Mike Perry, right? Beats the diabetic Jordan Williams. That's his only win in fucking 5 years is the diabetic. And looked like shit against Basil Hafez. Mickey Gall, to be honest, he's on Gas Digital Network. He wants a job being a personality more than he wants to be a fighter. He stinks. He sucks. I think Mickey Gall absolutely stinks. I am going to be taking Ramiz Brahimaj. It's a hold your nose, jump into the pool kind of fight for me. But if Ramiz is training at Fortis and Mickey Gall hasn't left Jersey, Mickey Gall needs to go to Faraz Zahabi. Mickey Gall needs to go to Fight Ready. Mickey Gall needs to go to Eric Nixick. He needs to get the fuck out of his comfort zone. Meanwhile, he's hanging out with fat-ass libertarian guy on Gas Digital Network, bullshitting around, doing bullshit, getting smoke blown up his ass. He's going to lose this fight. But I could easily see him winning it. It won't be a fight on all my parlays. I'm just going to say Mickey Gall has done nothing to show me that he has turned it around. I'm looking at a 7-7 Mickey Gall leaving the UFC and doing fucking celebrity boxing matches. He's Jake Paul's friend's next opponent. He's KSI's next opponent. He needs to go the route of get the fuck out of the UFC, and he's going the Darren Till route. He's going to be having a podcast, doing cryptocurrency, doing bullshit. I don't see Mickey Gall as a wants to be here type of guy. Fighting out his contract, taking the payday, Madison Square Garden, will fight hard. He is kind of like a Brian Ortega of this division, where he can eat a lot of strikes and he will be in there. But at the end of the day, I don't think he wants a long-term career in the UFC. I don't think he sees a title. I don't think he is close to being a contender or even a ranked guy. His career has he's a dud. Mickey Gall is a dud. Whereas Ramiz, I think Fortis MMA will get him right, get him prepared. He will win a squeaky decision off this. I'm taking Ramiz, but hey, Mickey Gall fighting for his job, fighting for his life. But I think it's a job he doesn't want. So I'm taking Ramiz Brahimaj, but it's just because Mickey Gall has done nothing to show me he wants to be here or deserves to be here. So Ramiz Brahimaj for me.
It's okay, doggy. Zach Amico needs a second chair on his horror movie podcast.
Great impression. I didn't even know you watched Gas Digital Network or
I used to fill her up. Ding ding. Back when Michael Bisping was on it, of course. But now he's got that show with Anthony Smith. Not a fan. I'll never listen to what Michael Bisping and Anthony Smith have to say ever.
I love the balls on my mouth.
Mickey Gall's dream is to become the third chair on Talkin' Sopranos with AJ and Meadow, but that'll never happen. He's going to have to suffice with Zach Amico. I'm going with...
He's the next Brendan Schaub. Mickey Gall is the next Brendan Schaub.
But far worse.
Exactly. He's not as funny or as good.
Brendan Schaub is way funnier, way better looking, way more talented, was a way better fighter.
Oh, that's your takeaway?
Way better fighter as well. Top 10 heavyweight in the world at one point. So never forget that.
47 minutes in. It feels like I've been doing this for 4 minutes. Holy shit.
Once you start getting into implied odds, time just really goes out the window. Yeah, I'm going with Brian.
If you can communicate this product, you can make money off the product.
Ramiz Brahimaj for me. Dan, what do you think?
I have to go with Mickey Gall. This is the Browns versus the Patriots here. So,
whoa, pause.
No. This is the Jets. This is the Jets versus the Cardinals here.
Well, Cardinals are respectable, way more respectable than either of these fighters.
Who won that game? Cardinals.
Cardinals blew them out of the water.
The
I thought the Jets were the favorite. They were like minus 130. I was like,
that's what I'm saying.
That's the favorite. Then I was like, someone's got to know something. So I picked the Jets, but based on the line solely. Yeah, this fight I have to go with Mickey Gall, and I'm going with him just because of the fact that Ramiz has only one win that went to decision, and I feel like Mickey Gall
is the only guy that has a hunch. Goes, oh wow, I feel that the Cardinals are going to win, but they're underdogs. So
shut up. That's the thing.
I'll tuck tail and go be a fucking.
Listen. I'll take underdogs regardless of sport, but when there's something like that where it's like, why are the Jets the favorite? That's
when you go. I'm going to go with my edge, which is to go. Everyone else is fucking dumb.
No. That's foolish. But this fight, what the people are here for, Mickey Gall got a bit of a chin on him, and not going up against a puncher by any means. Both guys are more in the grappling department. I think Mickey Gall I think he's a taller, longer guy. At least I haven't looked at the stats or whatever, but in my mind, watching both these guys fight, Mickey Gall is a pretty lanky dude. I think he's going to have some advantages with the grappling. And again, Ramiz, very reliant on the finish. I don't think he's finishing Mickey Gall. It's the hometown fight for the Jersey kid.
Both of them, actually. He's from the Bronx, Ramiz.
Where's he train out of, though?
Fortis MMA.
He's a Fortis guy. He's a Texan. He's as Texan as they come. I'm going with Mickey Gall. Not the most confident pick of all time. Again, it's the Browns versus the Jets versus the Patriots. Let me go with Mickey Gall.
How about that Giants versus Panthers game, dude?
Missed it too early.
Oh, dude, let me tell you what, man. I honestly, Stu Feiner led me astray, right? Like I go, yeah, the Panthers do suck, and the Giants, they got that new guy. What's that guy's name? The new guy, the guy that Gruden loved. Neighbors, yeah. I'm like, they got Neighbors, and they can't be as bad as. So I go, okay, Giants to win, right? Dude, Giants never even were in that game for a second. I mean, I'm talking every time they hit the red zone. And I said, our friend who's a Giants fan, I sent him a message. I go, your quarterback, he looks like a bird. He has no confidence in his eyes. He's got the eyes of a loser. He looks like a deer in the headlights every time he hikes the ball. He's a loser. He's not an alpha male. He doesn't have the confidence. He's not a leader. He agreed. He's a hardcore Giants fan. He said, what's the guy's name? What's the quarterback? Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, he said he will be gone next year. Trust me, he is not. You are right. Is what he
They
said.
just signed him to a fucking huge long-term contract. But
Right?
listen, you're the guy that 3 weeks ago when they played the Eagles, they're like, I've never seen a team quit as hard as the Giants. Now you're betting them. So screw you.
Against the Panthers. Dude. Against the fucking Panthers.
Well, the Panthers have heart. They got soul. They're losing.
Name two players on the Panthers. Name two players on the Panthers.
Leggett.
No,
Bryce Young.
Besides Bryce Young and Leggett, name two players on the Panthers.
Andy Dalton.
No, stop naming all my players. Chubba Hubbard. And I was going to say the other three players.
Okay, so we agree. Nobody here
Adam
named
Thielen.
4 players on the Panthers. Okay.
Adam
At
Thielen.
least I got Neighbors.
I could have named 4.
All right. I'm just saying, yeah, I got talked into it by dumber people than me, and I was very disappointed. I did not build a bankroll early on. I did not, get it going. But if the Niners had covered, I'd be up $1,000.
Yeah,
right?
I need that minus 6.5. You got that?
5.5.
How about the Broncos getting that field goal blocked to win the game against the Chiefs? That was heartbreaking.
Well, I had them by the points, the Broncos, so that was good on that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there were a few plays on underdogs that I had nailed. I had, for example, the Steelers, great underdog play last week. I had that nailed. But
Russell Wilson's amazing. Through Russell Wilson, anything is possible.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, no football talk. Deniz versus Tybura. For me, super straightforward. Deniz. Simple as that. Lock it up. Impressed by the odds. Love the odds. Yoanata Deniz is a, what is it? This is like a pick'em, right? I think it's like, I'll check the odds. Go ahead, Gallus. Do your pick. I'll check the odds real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna go with Tybura on this one. I don't think Deniz is well rounded enough to keep Tybura off him. Tybura is a mauling force. He loves to get on you and stay on you. Every round does start on the feet, and Tybura has been known to slow down a little bit in the later rounds, as these heavyweights do. It's hard to maintain. You only have one, Cain Velasquez, who can really maintain that pressure for all the duration of the fight. I'm gonna take Tybura though. I think he gets this one done, whether it's by submission or decision. I think that's probably gonna end up going to decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got a submission in this bout.
Yeah, Deniz minus 102. Love it. Generous. Give me Deniz all day. 7-0. Tybura has lost 9 more times than Deniz. Deniz is undefeated. That should tell you something right there.
I mean, he's a kickboxer. He's been exposed in his past couple fights in the UFC.
Tybura is stiff, stocky, and slow. Does not really get great takedowns.
Austin Lane took him down. Held him down for an entire round.
Austin Lane is good at takedowns. Austin Lane's athletic. He played football. Tybura is a stocky pig face and lost. I mean, Sergey Spivak took Tybura down and molested him. So it's like, is Spivak the best wrestler in the world? No, he's not. He's not even close. So, I mean, he's a good wrestler, but he's not Bo Nickel. Bo Nickel beat Sergey Spivak in a wrestling match. So it's like, and he's 2 weight classes below him. So it's like, Sergey Spivak is like...
Bo Nickel beats the entire roster in a wrestling match, except for John Jones.
I think he beats John Jones in this match. But anyway, all right, yeah. So I'm going with Deniz. You're going with Tybura. What will Dan do? That is to be determined.
I'm going to go with Tybura. I need to see a little bit more.
That should give you some confidence, Alex.
Shut the fuck up.
Dan's got the best. No, Dan, you got the best record out of all of us right now.
That is true. Am I at 60%? Did I go below? I'll calculate
Let's
that.
see. I'll factor it for you. I'll count it up for you while you're doing your picks. So
all right, sounds good. Yeah, so I need to see a little bit more out of Deniz as far as his striking acumen. I think Tybura is good enough on the feet to, not get completely leveled by some of these guys, especially the guys that are like coming from kickboxing. I'm always hesitant with the kickboxer guys coming into MMA. With the few exceptions of like Izzy and Alex Pereira, but I remember the Gokhan Saki hype coming in. He gets destroyed by Roundtree, a couple other guys, and on top of that, of course, the wrestling, the grappling advantage goes straight to Tybura. The experience, veteranship, I don't know. Listen, it's a sloppy heavyweight fight. We'll see where Deniz is at, who he really is, but I'll take a guy that's a little bit more proven. Is he a world beater? No, but Tybura's main evented before, and I think that this is a spot for him to. I mean, it's not even an upset. He's the favorite, a slight favorite, but I don't know. I like Tybura here. Not crazy about it though.
You're 59% still, 59.2%.
59. All right, I'll take it.
All right. Next up, we got Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson. Dan, take us away.
Ooh, this is going to be one of, I believe, 3 dogs for me. I'm going to take Jim Miller here. Damon Jackson's had a little bit of a run, at least for me when I'm thinking about it. He had the front kick on, what's his face? Pat Sabatini. But you know what? Jim Miller has shown that he could strike a little bit. Who's the dude with the goofy mustache that he absolutely destroyed? Was Jesse something? Anyway,
Miranda.
Jesse Miranda, is that his name?
Gabriel
Jesse Butler.
Jesse Butler. That's right. Coming in with that southpaw stance, Jim Miller, he still got the fire in his belly, baby. Even during these losses, losing to King Bobby at UFC 300 9 pay-per-views ago, he had some moments in that fight. And you know what? He's the younger guy. Not the younger guy. He's the older guy, slower guy. Clearly not the striker. But even in that matchup, he's putting together some good combinations. I think this is a pretty even fight in my mind. Damon Jackson could strike a little bit, and obviously known as a grappler. Jim Miller, that's certainly where his chops are at. So I have this thing lined up pretty even. And if that's going to be the case, I'm going to take the hometown guy who's going to get a little bit more pop from the crowd when he lands a couple shots. And he's the underdog. So, if you really want to square this up, I would say dog or pass. It's a dog or pass situation for me.
What do you think, Alex? Damon Jackson.
I'll let you go first.
Well, Damon Jackson's minus 130. Jim Miller's plus 110. Not too much of a dog. 41 years old, Jim Miller at 155. 36 years old, Damon Jackson coming up from 146, 145, featherweight, coming up into lightweight now from his last fight. Damon Jackson's going to be 3 inches taller. So I think he's going to reap the benefits of not as hard of a weight cut. He's coming off that loss to Chepe Mariscal, by decision 2 months ago. Before that, beat Alex Hernandez, who looked really great against Austin Hubbard. Before that, lost to Billy Quarantillo by decision and then got knocked out by Dan Ige. Before that, though, he front kicked Pat Sabatini in the face. So that's his last 2 years for you, 2-3. Jim Miller took a life-changing beating at the hands of Bobby Green only 6 months ago. Not enough time for a 41-year-old to recover, repair, and retrain. I think this is an obvious and generous line offering on Damon Jackson. Minus 130. Take my money, please. Heavy bet on Damon Jackson. Damon Jackson to smoke Jim Miller. I got Damon Jackson all day, all night. I knew Dan was going to pick Jim Miller. That's why I had him go first. I didn't want to talk him out of it. But yeah, it's Damon Jackson all day for me.
Well, you talked to me out of Jim Miller. I was leaning Miller. I'm going Jackson. The main thing for me
Got to
was
remember that beatdown he took against Bobby Green, Alex.
the
Remember
weight
that.
change is the most important thing for me. I feel like Damon Jackson's going to be a lot more durable in there. We won't see him as frail. We'll see a bigger, stronger Damon Jackson in there, and probably a new and improved one. And he's going against a guy with a way smaller frame than him, so it'll pay dividends.
I mean, that beating he took against Bobby Green 6 months ago, like if any of us took a beating like that, we wouldn't be the same right now. We're a lot younger than Jim Miller, let alone having to be the same and then turn around from that beatdown, recover, train for an opponent. I mean, you know, what's a great fight camp, right? 6 weeks, you know? So that's a month and a half right there. So that means he had, 5 months to recover from the beating before getting back into training camp. If he's coming back into training camp, I don't know. I don't see how this line is a pick 'em. I think Damon Jackson smokes Jim Miller.
You're kind of convincing me, but I'll stand put. Still dog or pass.
All right. Take us through Chris Weidman versus our boy, Eric Anders. I got a few.
Ooh, Alex, why don't you take this away? Because I was not present for the interview, so I feel like you have a little bit more of a connection.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to go with Eric Anders, just a fade on Chris Weidman. I think Chris Weidman's terrible, but, I'm not too confident in this one. Eric Anders has lost to some guys in the past that aren't all that good. But I think he gets it done against Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman's way too old. I mean, Eric Anders is pretty old himself. He's no spring chicken, but Eric Anders doesn't want to stop fighting. Chris Weidman does.
Ooh, I don't know if Eric Anders doesn't want to stop fighting. I hear he has a pretty lucrative real estate business going on, much like Mr. Iaquinta at the New York, regional.
But the difference is Iaquinta is not fighting, and Eric Anders is pretty consistent.
This is true. But I have heard him speaking of like exit strategies and things of that nature. I'm trying to go on to UFCstats.com right now and see, has Weidman been attempting to take people down?
Not
I'm trying to
necessarily.
remember his last couple of fights. Is he actually trying to take people down, or is he standing up with dudes?
Not that I can recall.
Me neither.
I feel like he would have got him down if he wanted to. He's been spending too much time with Wonder Boy.
I mean, it's tough to take people down when you're in your 40s, right? Like, is he in his 40s? He's got to be at least late 30s, whatever. He's got a lot of miles on him.
40 on the dot.
40 on the dot, yeah. Eric Anders, he's a southpaw. You're the wrestling expert of the crew, at least between you and I. Anders being a southpaw, advantage to Weidman for the wrestling?
I mean, I don't know, because I would assume that Weidman's a southpaw too, is he? No?
I don't think so.
I mean, most wrestlers have their right hand in the front just because they've done that their entire life. But
right.
I mean, it is a more common stance, so he will be more used to seeing that wrestling stance than others. But if he's not in his own wrestling stance, if he's in the opposite one, it'll probably be easier to cut off the feet. But I mean, I don't know. I would have assumed that Chris Weidman was a southpaw. I didn't know he wasn't.
I mean, I want to pick Anders really bad, but the more I think of it, Anders, he doesn't throw with a lot of volume, number one. He has, I feel like, cleaned up his, what were perceived as gas tank issues from earlier on in his career. I feel like he's kind of cleaned that up. But at the same time, he may have cleaned it up because he's not throwing with a whole ton of volume. Even though he's a big dude, I feel like he's not really a knockout guy. At least I'm not really remembering any, big time highlight knockouts. And of course, the wrestling advantage goes to Weidman, and Weidman is pretty durable. So I'm kind of thinking Weidman here as a dog. But again, I'm not crazy about it. I just think it's a dog or pass, much like the previous fight. But I don't want to go there. I mean, I'm super appreciative of Eric Anders' appearance on the show. Hope we get him on again. Seems like a cool dude. I don't want to pick against him. I really don't. But I also can't leave the audience astray here. I'm going to say it's dog or pass. You also have hometown cooking and all that. Crazy New York judges. Dog or pass, going to go with Weidman. But Don't want it.
Yeah. Okay.
Really don't
So
want it.
I'll make it easy for you. The only time Weidman has won is against Kelvin Gastelum when he fought at Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, right? Other than that, he has fought against Yoel Romero at MSG, got knocked out. Dominic Reyes in Brooklyn got knocked out. Every time he goes to New York, he gets smoked. Also, his performance against Bruno Silva, who sucks, he only won because he poked him in the eye twice.
Yeah.
More than twice.
And Bruno Silva's looked so bad as of you're right.
Lost against Brad Tavares, who's an impotent.
I'm going with Eric Anders. You already convinced me.
Brad Tavares is an absolute impotent. Now, Anders, kind of stocky, kind of pillow hands. I'd love for Weidman to be fighting like a Joe Pyfer or somebody who's going to fucking stomp a mud hole in his ass, right? Yeah. Like, I would love for them to give Weidman like what he wants, which is like a title shot against Pereira or some shit, right? I mean, not that Pereira's at 185, but give him fucking Driscus Duplessis, right? Just let Weidman get a fucking mud hole stomped in his ass. After that bullshit performance against fucking Tavares, Tavares, but also Silva.
Yeah.
What more do I need to say? I mean, I'm going with Chris Weidman, or sorry, Eric Anders. And if he came on the show, I would have really got some steam cooking under him. I would have told him, they think you're going to, this is what I would have, so if Eric Anders were here, get this message to Eric Anders. Eric, they think that you're an easy fight for Chris Weidman. They think that you're somebody who can go over there. Chris Weidman, who's already knocked out Anderson Silva, who's already, defeated Lyoto Machida, who's already had his title shot, his moment in the sun, his championship reign. He squandered it. He's gotten chance and chance and chance again. He's gotten to move weight classes, get smoked out of one weight class, back down to the next. He's got a 30 for 30 documentary. He broke his leg. He was crying, getting taken out on a stretcher. McGregor wasn't crying. McGregor didn't want to go out on no stretcher. McGregor did the post-fight interview. So, Eric Anders, you need to go in there and show them there are no happy endings in the sport. There's no quinceañeras. There's no sweet 16s. There's no bar mitzvahs. Chris Weidman, his poor wife, who's had to sit there and rah sis kumbah, cheer him on for all his bullshit. His poor kids who don't get to go and have their own moment in the sun, their little spotlights. They get to his wife going to parent teacher conferences alone. His kids with their dad not showing up to their fucking high school sports, their wrestling matches. Listen, Chris Weidman just wants to have another little pageant, another beauty contest. He wants to get the sash. He wants to get the tiara. He wants to say, I did it. You can too. Guess what? You know what I like to believe in? The laws of nature. The laws that say if you break your fucking leg, you return, you get beat up by an impotent in Brad Tavares, get your leg broken again. You show up, you get beat up by an impotent in Bruno Silva, have to poke him in the eyes to win, and then you jump on the cage celebrating like you just fucking won the Super Bowl when you barely and cheated to beat a fucking loser in Bruno Silva. Now you're showing up against Eric Anders, and they gave you this fight because Dana White's your buddy, because Sarah Longo, they go have pasta with Dana White, and they all nudge elbows, and they want to get you a win in your hometown so you can sail off into the sunset. There are no happy endings. They fed Nate Diaz, Khamzat Chimaev, tried to. They feed Tony Ferguson, fucking everybody, Paddy the Baddy, everybody. They use their guys like you, Weidman, to boost up people. Yet they're giving you a guy your own age, a guy who got a late start to the game. I hope that I hope that Eric Anders pounds him out with 12 to 6 elbows, breaks his orbital, and I hope that all of Chris Weidman's family are crying at Madison Square Garden, and that Bruno. God, why do I keep saying Bruno? I hope that Eric Anders stomps a mud hole in Chris Weidman's ass this weekend. I'm taking Eric Anders.
In his asshole?
In his asshole.
In his ass? In his asshole?
All right. Next up, we got
Trophy certified Eric Anders.
Trophy certified Eric Anders. Next up, we got Jonathan the Dragon Martinez versus Marcus the Maniac McGee. I think this is the easiest fight of the night. I'm going to go with Marcus McGee. I'm going to go with him emphatically. It's my most confident pick on this entire card. I think he can get it done by sub too. Jonathan Martinez, not very good on the ground, really bad at taking leg kicks. So is Chris Weidman. Gonna go. Jonathan Martinez throws great leg kicks, but he's bad at taking them. And Marcus McGee is a very dynamic striker, great everywhere, great on the mat too. I think he's gonna take Jonathan Martinez down, take the path of least resistance, and end up getting a submission.
I agree. Easiest pick of the night. Marcus McGee is going to smash Jonathan Martinez. Jonathan Martinez is not durable. Jonathan Martinez has been dropped in fights he's won. He lacks defense. He is weak-chinned, weak-willed, breakable. Marcus McGee is a boulder. He is a fucking rock golem. He is going to go in there and smash through Jonathan Martinez. Marcus McGee by finish.
And he's pumped. He was like, they don't give the number 40th ranked guy the number 12th guy. This is awesome. Like, I mean, you guys see the rankings. I see what I'm ranked right now. I'm ranked 42nd in the UFC. Like, come on.
Yeah, Marcus McGee, super fun fighter, just absolutely shredded, but keeps coming forward. You know, high volume, just like the total package. May not be the slickest fighter. I think that as far as technique, Jonathan Martinez, he's more of like, I went to karate since I was age 4 and I got that slicker technique, whatever. But Marcus McGee, he's a street fighter that just doesn't quit, keeps coming forward, throws bombs. Like, this isn't a point karate fight. This is a fight. Who's going to die? Who's going to live? It's going to be Marcus McGee, Triple P certified.
Sweet. Next up, we got another fight nerd. 2 weekends in a row of some fight nerds, and everybody's jazzed up about these fight nerds. Marcio Rufi versus James Yontop. I think Yontop is gonna get roofied in this one and go straight to sleep. First round knockout for Marcio Rufi. He doesn't force it though, so it could come later. But I love his striking. I think he gets this one done fairly easily.
I think Rufi's going to win as well. I think he's going to finish as well. If it's an over 1.5, I'm tempted to take the over just because I think Lion Top's a little bit durable, and I think that Rufi plays with his food a little bit. So trust that the heavy favorite will win by finish, but might like over 1.5, might like him to get it done in the later stretch around 2. But Rufi by finish. That's
he's a highlight hunter. He'll sit in there and dap you up just a bit just so he can get that spinning wheel kick knockout. So yeah, you're right. I love that.
His food and Lion Top is a little bit durable, so it depends which kind of ref we have in there, But I think Rufi puts it on him, hurts him in round 1, finishes him in round 2, hope possibly late in round 2. So don't be surprised if the over 1.5 hits, but give me Rufi. And if it's an over 2.5, bet the under for sure. I don't think this thing goes deep in round 3. I think Rufi finishes him towards the later half of round 2.
I'm a little bit soured on the prop bets, even though it is my fault, but I'm just going to, keep the bread and butter. I'm just going to go with the big time favorite, boost up the parlays. I'm going to go with Rufi, clearly the better fighter here. It's a good matchup as well. So let's just keep the simple and go with the fighting nerd, Marcio Rufi.
Beautiful. Next, we got a fight that shouldn't even be on this card. Karine Silva versus Viviana Araujo.
Certainly not on the main card. At the
Hold
very
your
least.
tongue. You're not on the main card.
Yeah, not on the main card. Okay, so Karine Silva 18-4, Vivi Araujo 12-6, 3-round fight. I think it goes to decision, but 30 years old versus 37 years old. I think it's safe to say Karine Silva keeps her winning ways going and wins this fight. I don't see her submitting Araujo. I'm going to go with Karine Silva by decision.
So I actually have to change things up because I thought this was
a take a piss fight. This is a take a piss break fight for sure.
I thought this was Natalia Silva. I was about to go in on the Natalia Silva. Now I actually have to look at this a little bit. I might go with Viviane Araujo. Another dog or pass situation for me. I like Araujo as far as just being absolutely shredded, being a powerful fighter, and has some grappling chops. I think that she might be able to get it done against Karine Silva, who's streaking, but how long will she be streaking for? I think her streaking is about to end. A police officer is about to tackle her at the 50-yard line. The streaking is done, okay? Viviane Araujo is coming in there. She's going to be the one to tackle her. She's going to get the takedown. And I'm going to go by decision. Not going to bet it because, again, I'm soured on the prop bets. But dog or pass. Dog or pass. Don't kill me on this. But Araujo is my pick.
All right, take us through the next one, boys. I got to do something real quick.
Oh, I'm going with Karen Silva myself. I'll keep it simple. I'm not going to go with any of the props on this one. Araujo's never been submitted in her entire career, so I'm not going to get cute with it. Just going Silva. Next up, we got Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. I'm going to go with Bo Nickel, TKO, ground and pound. I think that Paul Craig is going to be a little bit too durable. Or not durable, a little bit too crafty to get submitted. I don't see Paul Craig getting submitted in there, not very often, but I will see him on the bottom of Bo Nickel, and I think Bo Nickel's going to be able to pound him out and end up getting the ground and pound finish TKO.
I'm also going to go with Bo Nickel, but I feel like the fans deserve an actual prediction here on this one on how it's going to play out. And I think I'm going to go sub. I think that Bo Nickel is a guy who is really like searching for validation and not in an unhealthy way. But he's like, you know what? I am this talented. I do need to actually do something to elevate my status in the UFC and take my throne deservedly so. And I think that he's going to be looking at this matchup and saying, I need a sub. I can't do the ground pound matchup. I need to actually get a submission here on the submission expert. And I think over the course of 15 minutes, obviously the wrestling obviously is going to be, putting himself in very advantageous positions. And I think from there, he could find an arm triangle, like he'll be on top. So I think he's going to be looking for that, and eventually find it over the course of 15, soften him up with the ground and pound, but eventually get that sub and solidify himself in that top echelon of middleweights. So give me a submission for Mr. Bo Nickel.
Yeah, Bo Nickel by finish. Probably Bo Nickel by knockout is what I'll go with. He knocked out a lot of other guys. I think he pieces Paul Craig up. He's athletic. He's faster. I think Paul Craig will be diving he'll be diving for the takedowns. It'll be silly for him to. How does Paul Craig win this, right? Does Bo Nickel take him down and Paul Craig submits him? Highly, highly, highly doubt that. Does Bo Nickel? So I think what happens is Bo Nickel doesn't shoot for a takedown. He boxes him up, pieces him up, knocks him the fuck out.
Fair enough. I think it's ground and pound. So close on that one. Okay, next up, we've got Do Bronx, Charles Oliveira versus Michael Anything is Possible Chandler. I'm going to go with Oliveira. We've seen this story before, and that was when Michael Chandler was very active, he was surging. He wasn't on the couch for 2 years waiting for McGregor. You don't get better at something by not doing it. Charles Oliveira, although he hasn't been as active, as active as he usually is. He's been more active than Chandler, and he's looked good in there. Even in some of those losses, I'm going with Charles Oliveira. I think he weathers the early storm. Michael Chandler gasses and gets submitted again. I think it's an identical matchup to the first time, except maybe Charles Oliveira doesn't get rocked in the first round this time.
Well, Charles finished him in the second round by knockout, not by submission.
Oh, right.
So I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira by finish. I think that's the safest way to play it. I don't know whether he will clip him and sub him or clip him and finish him with the strikes. So I think this is an easy play. Chandler is he's couch rusty. He's think about it like this, right? You got one guy who was expecting to fight Conor McGregor, training for a very specific matchup. And now you get taken out of a fight that, not that McGregor is not one of the greats, but McGregor has been out for so long and Chandler has so many advantages against McGregor, right? Like Durability wise, he has not broken his leg. Durability wise, he has not gotten knocked out by Dustin Poirier. Durability wise, he's taken the best shots from guys like Hooker, Gaethje, Poirier, knocked out Tony Ferguson. Like, Chandler had a lot of confidence to fight a guy like McGregor. When it comes to a guy like Oliveira, who's finished him already, you know, I think that this is a desperate move. I think that McGregor kind of put Chandler in checkmate, and Oliveira is here to say king me. You know what I mean? So I think Oliveira, it's Du Bronx. He's younger. He's crazy dynamic. I think that it could look bad for him in moments, but I think that ultimately the will it will take for Chandler to win will inevitably gas him. And I don't think Chandler's best, it's like in Fast and the Furious 1. Same as the first fight, right? Paul Walker hits the Nas. And Vin Diesel, what does he say? Too soon, too early. And he ends up overtaking him. And he goes, I almost had you. And he goes, you never had me. You never had your car. And I think that's this fight. I think Charles Oliveira is here to say, you never had me. You never had your car. And
when I was flying home from Miami, there was a lot of Fast and Furious in that plane. A lot of Fast and Furious being watched on that plane. And I was, looking over people's shoulder, reading the subtitles. I remember the movie. I could pretty much, say it all myself in, Fast and Furious 1. I was hoping I would get a double feature and somebody would put on Too Fast, Too Furious. But sadly, it did not happen. But a lot of people watching Fast and Furious.
I'll tell you what, when I was in first grade and I saw Fast and the Furious. I mean, we watched it, we rewatched it, we rented it, we watched the bonus features. I mean, we loved the Fast and the Furious. Fast and Furious 2, that was like Star Wars 2. I mean, that was like Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. I mean, that was like, wow, they made this movie almost even better, right? And then there's been kind of a downhill slide from there, right? I mean, Tokyo Drift, not that great. Fast and the Furious 3.
Tokyo Drift's not good? I thought that was a good one.
Well, it's kind of a spin-off, right? It's kind of like you don't have the same characters. You know what I mean? None of the same characters were in it. But I'm just gonna say, the Fast and the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious stand alone to me. They're like the original Star Wars. Everything after is like the Disney Star Wars. You know what I mean? So the Fast and the Furious is an epic movie. It's an amazing movie, and I don't think Michael Chandler ever had him. I don't think he ever had his car. So I'm going with Charles Oliveira, and Charles Oliveira emphatically.
Is Fast and the Furious better than The Italian Job?
Yes, but The Italian Job is a really good movie. I'll say that. The Italian Job is, but the cars in The Italian Job are all Mini Coopers. Yeah. And but I would compare The Italian Job to more like a Rounders, more like a it's less about the driving, more about the heist. I would say The Italian Job is better than Ocean's 11.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, okay.
The Italian Job is better than Ocean's 11.
Nothing's better than Ocean's 8, though.
The Italian Job is better than The Town. The Town? Ben Affleck?
No,
yeah.
I'm a big Italian Job guy, so I would.
But Dan, you still haven't seen The Prestige, so
I do have to see The Prestige. Alex, are you Prestige guy?
One of my favorite movies.
Oh shit! All right, I gotta get on this.
Christian Bale is the greatest actor ever.
I gotta, download it illegally, and they could put a virus on my computer, or whatever I gotta do.
I gotta find the clip of Joey Diaz where he's high as a kite on his podcast, and someone's like, who would you get to play him? And he goes, Christian Bale. And they're like, Christian Bale? Why Christian Bale?
Get to play who?
It was like, maybe he was saying like Christian Bale. I think he was saying like Charles Bronson, the mechanic, or something like that. And he goes, why Christian Bale? And then Joey Diaz goes, because he can do anything. So, if you guys ever hear me talk about Diego Lopez, and I go, Diego Lopez, he can do anything. I'm referencing Joey Diaz talking about Christian Bale. Right? I think Diego Lopez is the Christian Bale of our sport. He can do anything.
I hear you. You know who can do anything? Michael Chandler can do anything. And I think he's going to be bolstered by the fact that he got a screw job from Conor McGregor. I think he's going to come out fucking on fire, brother. I think he's in the best shape of his life from what I'm seeing on Instagram. I think he's like to the max.
Mini Mike. I think that the volume is going to be there. I think the cardio is going to be there. I think he's going to have no quit. I think he's the king of MSG. I think that, he's going to look back at that first round and say, I could do that first round 2 times over, 3 times over. I can carry that over the course of 15 minutes if I want to now with this new physique, with this new attitude. I think he puts it on him. I don't think he gets taken down. I think he says, you know what? I just got to box this guy up. I'm a better boxer. I'm a better athlete. I'm not getting taken down. I'm not going to put myself in a overextended position where a jiu-jitsu guy is going to take me down. Not going to happen.
He's going to get shit kicked out of him, and then he's going to be on Bussin' with the Boys on Tuesday. He's going to be like, I'm a man of my word. I told you, win or lose, I'll be on this bus.
I bet on myself.
Here with these boys.
Hey, win or lose, the road to the UFC for Conor McGregor comes through Michael Chandler.
Listen, I think he's winning. Listen, he is a guy that is dying for the microphone in his face to say, Conor McGregor.
He was dying for it. He was dying for it with Michael Gaethje. He was dying for it with Dustin Poirier.
Well, those are bad matchups for him. Those are really bad matchups for him.
Not as bad as Charles Oliveira was.
Listen, Charles Oliveira, he's sitting in the salon getting his hair done and a new
he's in Brazil.
New color.
Taylor's in Florida. Oliveira's in fucking Brazil.
Yeah.
I'm from Brazil. I'm from Brazil.
He's in Florida, and guess what? It's 2024, and this is the Trump era, and he's in Florida. Okay, he's right where he needs to be. He's gonna get this shit done. All right.
The real question is Ice Spice going to be there? She loves Dubronx.
She does love Dubronx, but I don't think she'll be there. I think that she's too heartbroken from their breakup.
And when you look into it,
I'll say this for the hardcore betting public who watches this show: dog or pass. Another dog or pass. Just be careful. Dog or pass.
Danny, dog or pass. We're gonna get you a chair on that show. You love it so much.
It's a good term to use in these situations. Like,
take Paul
Craig on every parlay, just a few.
Take Paul Craig, because I told you when you picked Paul Craig, when you picked Paul Craig against Johnny Walker, I told you, I said Johnny Walker's gonna play the fucking bongo drums on Paul Craig's head, and what did he do? He played the fucking bongo drums on Paul Craig's head,
and that was a possibility. That also was a good dog or pass play.
It was not. He never
really. Johnny
he
Walker
was in that fight for a moment.
Johnny Walker is a favorite.
You can watch it. You were upstairs watching playoff football with your wife. I came up and told you what happened.
Shots fired.
Listen, I'm not hating on watching playoff football over fucking Johnny Walker as a favorite in a fight.
That was Birds versus Giants. That was a tightly contested.
Here's how it's gonna end. Dubronx is going to crack him, stumble him, flying knee him, and then pound him out on the ground. It'll be, I guarantee you, Charles Oliveira's knee touches Michael Chandler's chin at some point in this fight, and that will be the final blow. I see it in my mind's eye. Charles Oliveira, flying knee, puts him to the canvas, elbows, 12-6, punches. Michael Chandler's fucking going, why'd you stop it? Why'd you stop it? All right, 2 for Dubronx, 1 for Michael Chandelier, who's going to get his bell rung like a chandelier.
Chandelier, shine bright like a diamond.
And I told you,
a lot of diamonds on that chandelier.
I told you we'd be in and out in 90 minutes. Let's get into the main event of the evening. 309 UFC, John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Alex, we'll start with you. John Jones taking on Stipe, a fight that's a long time in the making. I think we should start off with this, and I'll set the table for us here. A lot of people are saying that Tom Aspinall is the rightful guy who should be fighting John Jones. I want to put some dates on things for everybody, okay? So let's take a look at Tom Aspinall's record, right? And we're going to compare it against John Jones's. Tom Aspinwall. Tom, how do you spell his name? Tom ASPINAL. Tom Aspinall. Okay. Tommy Aspinall. There's only one. Tom Aspinall. Okay, so Tom Aspinall comes into the UFC off of Cage Warriors, and he fights a man named Jake Collier. He knocks him out in round 1. Then he fights Alan Baldo, knocks him out in round 1. Then he fights Andre Arlovsky, chokes him out in round 2. Then he fights Sergey Spivak and knocks him out in round 1. Okay, so we can all agree, aside from Sergey Spivak, those were all just gimme, easy. No, anybody could beat
None of
those.
them are in the UFC anymore.
I could beat Jake Collier. I could beat Alan Baldo. All right.
No, except for Spivak.
So, okay, Spivak's the first real win he gets. So he beats Spivak. He beats Alexander Volkov. Okay, fair enough. Then he loses to Curtis Blades. Couldn't even last 15 seconds with Curtis Blades. Okay. So now we have a reset moment. Okay. Then he fights Marcin Tybura, who stinks, has 7 losses. Okay. And he finishes him in round 1. Okay. It's heavyweight. So, in my opinion, besides the Sergey Spivak win and the Alexander Volkov win, Aspinall has beaten 2 guys. He's beaten Sergey Pavlovich and he's beaten Curtis Blades, who he is 1-1 with. So that means Tom Aspinall at heavyweight has beaten Sergey Spivak. He's beaten Alexander Volkov. He's 1-1 with Curtis Blades, neutralized. We're not counting Marcin Tybura because he sucks. And he's beaten Sergey Pavlovich. So he's beaten 3.
I'll count Marcin Tybura.
I'm not counting him. He's got 7 losses. He's got 7 fucking losses. Let's see. Okay, if you want to count Marcin Tybura, let's see who else has beaten Marcin Tybura. Augusto Sakai has beaten Marcin Tybura. Derek Lewis has beaten Marcin Tybura. Tim Johnson has beaten Marcin Tybura inside the UFC. Who the fuck is Tim Johnson? So, and by the way, Sergey Spivak finished Tybura faster or as fast as fucking Tom Aspinall did. So Tybura is a wash. So he's 1-1 with Curtis Blades. He's beaten Sergey Pavlovich, Alexander Volkov, and he's beaten Sergey Spivak. That is 3 wins at heavyweight. Okay. Tom Aspinall will tell you, well, I finished. I finished. Who even knows what this guy's even saying, right? Tom Aspinall also. So that was when he beat Marcin Tybura. That was July of 2022. Okay, so is that when we're supposed to start considering? Because by the way, Tom Aspinall was an underdog against Sergey Pavlovich. I got to get my phone charger or my laptop charger, but he beat Sergey Pavlovich November 11th, a year ago, guys. A year ago to this day. 1 fucking year, and he's beaten Pavlovich and even the score with Blades. That is it. Okay? Now, and we're supposed to act as though John Jones is ducking this guy, who John Jones, in the same time frame, he beat Cyril Gane a fucking year and 7 months ago, was supposed to fight Stipe when fucking Aspinall fought, what's his name? Pavlovich.
Yeah.
And Stipe is the one who ducked. Stipe is the one who said, I'm not fighting the backup. I'm not fighting at all. I'm good to go. I'm good to watch, but I'm not fighting the backup. So Tom comes in, fights the backup when Jones was hurt, and has since defended the belt 1 fucking time against the guy who already beat him in 15 seconds, even the score. And that is supposed to be enough for us to say John Jones is afraid of it. John Jones, who has beaten Shogun Rua, Rampage Jackson, Lyoto Machida, Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort, Chael Sonnen, Alexander Gustafsson, Glover Teixeira, Daniel Cormier, fucking Alexander Gustafsson.
By the way, only one of those guys was
Cyril
never a
Gane.
champion, and that was Gustafsson.
Yeah. So, what do you mean?
Out of all the guys you named, only one of them was never a champion, and it was Gustafsson.
Right.
All the other ones were a UFC
Hogan,
champion at one
champion.
point.
Jackson, champion. Machida, champion. Evans, champion. Belfort, champion. Belfort, multi-division champion. Gustafsson, champion. Teixeira, champion. Cormier, double division champion.
Yeah, Belfort wasn't a double division champ. But...
No,
Yeah, he
Gustafsson.
was. Yeah, he was. He beat Randy Couture for the fucking UFC heavyweight championship.
Gustafsson.
And then he was never any other ones, Luke.
Fair enough. But he fought Anderson Silva for the championship.
Yes.
Great.
And John Jones for the light heavyweight.
So let me get my charger real quick. But my point is, guys, Aspinall has not done shit.
And don't even get me started on how Bisping dicked around Robert Whitaker
I
for
think now
5
is
years.
a perfect time for you to get started on that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't got to make me full screen. Get Dan out here too. I know you're leaving, but geez Louise. Yeah. So basically, all these Brits that are Tommy Aspinall needs his fight. Well, there were a bunch of Australians saying the same thing about Robert Whitaker when he was the interim champ, defending the interim belt against Yoel Romero, while Michael Bisping was off making movies and fighting against GSP and Dan Henderson rather than fighting against the interim champ and Yoel Romero and any of the guys that would have giving Luke Rockhold his rematch, even though they were 1-1 against each other. Michael Bisping had a bunch of guys that he could have fought, but instead he fought retired GSP and Dan Henderson, who wasn't even, I mean, he had a good win coming off of that Hector Lombard win, but nonetheless, there were still a laundry list of guys who deserved the title shot before Dan Henderson. And just because, Michael Bisping wanted to get even with Dan Henderson because of UFC 100, the whole division gets put on hold, and then the whole division gets put on hold again so he can fight GSP. So, Mike Bisping held up the division just as long as John Jones, if not longer, during his title reign, and y'all didn't have anything to say about it. Y'all didn't have any
Justin
complaint.
Jacob here.
So I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, MMA Guru. Michael Bisping decided to duck Robert fucking Whitaker, who has gotten his shit smashed in 7 times over by any fucking incumbent guy, and decided to duck Robert Whitaker. Robert Whitaker, Mr. fucking play it cool, sit in the corner. I'm fucking hurt off of the fucking Yoel Romero beatdown I took. He decided to fight, like Alex said, retired GSP from a weight class beneath of him. And then Dan Henderson, who was 1 foot out the door off of a fucking fluke win against Hector Lombard. That's what Bisping, your other British champ, decided to do. No one peeps a fucking word about that. Didn't give Rockhold the rematch. Didn't fight anybody else. Machida, fucking anybody else at the time who would have been a good title challenge for Michael Bisping. Instead, decided to fight Dan Henderson, GSP. John Jones tears his pec, comes back, fights the last guy who beat Francis in Cyril Gane, he lost to Francis in round 5. But fights the fucking other guy who's got 1 loss in the heavyweight division, and then says, I want to fight the guy who's got the most title fight wins at heavyweight, Stipe Miocic. Now listen, I'm all with you guys. Yeah, Stipe got carried off in a fucking stretcher. Stipe, crybaby of the fucking year. Always the one to sit on his ass and be like, I want my belt back. I want my belt back. I'm with it. But the reality is, Tom Aspinall has just got Michael Bisping in his ear saying, you need to chirp at John. You need to chirp at John. He even knows himself. Tom Aspinall has not done enough, dude. He fucking got broken by fucking Curtis Blades. He got absolutely broken. He couldn't even last 15 seconds with him. Comes back, yeah, he gets the win. Gets the win against Sergey Pavlovich. It's heavyweight. Shit happens. Let Tom Aspinall break Stipe's record. Then he can start chatting shit. The only reason he even got the opportunity to fight against Sergey Pavlovich in that fight was because John got hurt. So John gets hurt, he gets his opportunity, he gets the belt, and now all of a sudden it's, well, you have to defend it against me. Why? He already had a fight booked. He already had a fight booked against Stipe. That was the fucking fight that was being made. That's the end of it. It's not that John Jones is ducking him. It's that, why am I putting all my chips in the basket of a guy who has not fucking built the fanfare, who's not going to talk shit, who's not going to fucking build the fight, and who really only has, like I said, beaten Sergey Pavlovich, Sergey Spivak, Alexander Volkov, and he's 1-1 with Curtis Blades. That's it. 3 fucking fights, dude. So,
and Alex Pereira, guess what? He's done enough. 2-belt champion in the UFC, has a legacy already. In the same time it took Tom Aspinall to fight 3 fights, Alex Pereira has fought 4 title fights. So, like, get the fuck out of here. And Alex Pereira is the most active guy on the roster right now and is a champion. Alex Pereira deserves the fight more than Tom Aspinall. And it's for way bigger legacy stakes. All of this is for legacy stakes. Tom Aspinall, not in legacy stakes. Like John said, if I beat Tom Aspinall, everybody's going to say, yeah, well, he only had 10 wins. If you beat Alex Pereira, everybody's going to say, wow, 2-belt champion going up for a 3rd belt. This is going to be like a legacy regardless of who wins. This is going to be huge for John, huge for Alex, regardless of the circumstances. That is why this fight is meaningful. It's meaningful for Stipe. It's meaningful for John. It really ends the GOAT debate. There's one guy who fought both of them, DC, and he was running around like he was the GOAT for a couple, months just because he had both belts. Stipe beat him, John beat him as well. This is really like the matchup to see who is the best in the world, because these are the last 10 years, 15 years, who has been the best for the last 15 years. That's the question that we're about to answer.
This is
not who's the best right now. It's short-sighted to see this Tom Aspinall thing. We want to see who, when all the chips are down, who is the best. Stipe and John had long title reigns. Stipe, the longest title reign in his division. John, the longest title reign in his division. John, probably the longest title reign all time if you don't take away his belt for any of his misdoings. You know what I'm saying? Like, he probably would have had the belt for the past 20 years at this point. Like, John Jones is an animal. You got to look at this as something bigger than just one fight, guys. Like, this is 15 years in the fucking making.
Not to mention that if the same argument you could pull with Tom, you should be pulling with Hamzat. So Hamzat has had to sit out for injury, illness, whatever. Aspinall has sat out for injury, illness, whatever. It's the same thing. So, okay, so Hamzat, I guess, should have been fighting Leon and should have been fighting all these other... Of course, but he had to sit out for injury. Same with Tom. It's not like Tom has been like Tony or Khabib, right? Active, ready, fighting, beating other
Leon,
guys.
When Leon was on like a 14-fight win streak.
Bilal even. Tom hasn't even done what Bilal has done, which is take on every fucking guy in the meantime and be ready and fight and be active. Tom fights once or twice a year. He's been hurt, and he waits around. So at the end of the day, I'm down for seeing Tom Aspinall as champ defending against the best. But what I'm not down for is the rewriting of history that says, okay, so while Tom hadn't beaten, before Tom had beaten Sergey and Curtis, he had only beaten Volkov, who everybody has beaten, including Blades, right?
And Cyril Gane, I think.
Yeah.
No, Tom didn't beat Cyril Gane.
Cyril Gane beat Volkov.
Right. But it's like Volkov had beaten Tom before he beat Sergey, which he only would have gotten the opportunity to do because John got hurt. Before that, he had only beaten Spivak and fucking Volkov. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake Collier, my boy.
Yeah, but I'm not even counting those. So it's like he beat two guys, gets the opportunity to fight against Pavlovich.
Beat Arlovsky, former champ.
Again, not counting it. So it's like, okay, you beat Pavlovich, or before Pavlovich, you beat Volkov.
If people aren't counting Brendan Schaub's win against Mirko Krokop, we're not counting that win against Andrei Arlovsky. Done.
You get sidelined after you can't even last 15 seconds with Curtis Blades. And then you end up beating Volkov and Spivak. And that's it. And then John gets hurt. You get your opportunity to fight Pavlovich. Cool. You beat Pavlovich. Then you beat Blades, who you're now 1-1 against. Okay. So you've beaten two guys in the time that John Jones has beaten Cyril Gane. It's 1 against 2, and John was hurt. Just like you were hurt. Just like you were hurt after that Blades fight, and that's why you don't have more fights. It's the same fucking thing. So, all that being said, now we get John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Stipe Miocic, what do you think is going to happen in this fight, Alex?
I think people are counting Stipe out. I think that Stipe has a realistic chance to win this fight. I think that this is definitely John's toughest matchup. John struggles with some of these bigger guys in the cage. One thing that I think John will do very well is he's going to poke Stipe in his eyes. And if you saw when Stipe got poked in the eyes by Daniel Cormier, it set up the knockout perfect. But, I'm hoping John Jones has a little bit more power at heavyweight. We haven't really seen much of John at heavyweight. Hopefully he's moving around in there still as versatile as ever with just a little bit more pop to those strikes. It's a little unnerving seeing how quick that Cyril Gane matchup went. This is not going to be that. I think Stipe is game. I don't see John having the knockout power to put Stipe away in the first round, the second round, the third round. If anything, it would have to be like a late onset where he throws something tricky like he did against DC or works in those elbows super well. But it's from all the footage I've seen of John Jones training, I think that he is really going to, in this last stage of his career, we're going to see a lot more grappling out of John Jones. And I think he's going to be able to get Stipe down. And I think that he is going to be a marauder while he's on the ground. And I think that he's going to be landing elbows. He's going to be throwing 12-6. He's going to make a point to throw 12-6 elbows. That's the path to victory. I see John Jones getting this done. I don't see him putting Stipe away on the feet. If it is on the feet, I think it's going to go a lot like the Dominic Reyes fight, if I'm being completely honest. Or, one of those other fights like Thiago Santos, or one of those fights where John Jones struggles. He struggles with guys that are around the same size as him, and Stipe is going to be one of the bigger guys that he's faced, and Stipe's got a lot of power, good wrestling. Stipe's great everywhere, greatest heavyweight to ever do it, besides, Fedor and Kane. I'm going to go with John Jones, but I really do think that this is a lot closer of a fight than people are anticipating, and it could be like a blood and guts war, or we're going to see John Jones take it to the ground, neutralize Stipe, get it done that way, or John Jones get knocked out. Those are the three options. John Jones is not knocking Stipe out on the feet, and I'll say that with 100% confidence.
I'm going to agree with you pretty much in your entire breakdown. I think that what happens is this, right? I think when I saw John weigh in against Cyril Gane, I was not impressed. I thought he looked like Jamal Hill. I thought, everything there was to like about John at light heavyweight had fallen away. And I didn't see enough in the Cyril Gane fight to really give me confidence about John at heavyweight. Coming off of a torn pec, it's like, okay, well, Stipe is coming off a lot of rest, and he's coming off whereas John is having to recover, rebuild, kind of the same thing I was saying about Miller, right? I mean, both these guys are approaching 40, if not 40 already. I think Stipe is 40. Let's see. At the time of the fight, John's going to be 37. Stipe is 42. Okay, so, but I think 42 with a shitload of rest, knowing that this is his last fight ever, Stipe. It's really what I think is this, right? For the first time, John's fighting a guy who's the same height as him. John's only going to have a 4.5-inch reach advantage over Stipe. Stipe's got an 80-inch reach. Like you said, I think when I see John training with, really elite heavyweight wrestlers, when I see John training with Gordon Ryan, I say, okay, if John is going to tactically approach Stipe, poke him in the eyes, jab him up, shoot a takedown, dump him on his ass, I think he could mount him or elbow him to death. Like you said, make a point to hit those 12-6 elbows, and I could see him busting Stipe up on the ground. Now, the only problem is here's my thing, right? This really has nothing to do with me thinking John Jones is the better fighter, with the better base, the better pedigree, the better skill set. It has everything with me to think about the intangibles, the fight gods, the karmic kind of mystical element of this sport, where I think, okay, Stipe is the petty king. We talk about Israel Adesanya being the petty king, meaning like he is so petty. He loves to fucking get revenge. He loves to fucking stuff it in people's faces. Guys, even more than Izzy, that is Stipe, right? I mean, you got to think. When Stipe got knocked out by DC, that was 6 years ago, okay? He waits a whole year and 2 months before he gets to fight DC again. This is while DC is trying to get that fight with Lesnar. Then they try to squeak Stipe in on short notice in Madison Square Garden to fight him. And Stipe says, no, I'm not fucking fighting him on short notice. I'll wait and I'll fight him when we can build it. And I get my time. So Daniel Cormier has to defend against Derek Lewis, a fight that DC just knew he was going to win with a million different disadvantages going in, hurt back, all this other shit. He goes in, he beats Derek Lewis easily. Finally, he gets to fight Daniel Cormier, and he beats him by knockout, right? He beats him up. And then he fights him again. But it takes another, because of the pandemic, it takes another year for him to fight DC again. He fights DC again, and what does he do? Just like he got poked in the eye by DC, he pokes DC in the eye. And I have to have a mind to believe he did it on purpose. He fucked DC's eye up. And it was a pretty close fight, but he ended up winning out and defeating Daniel Cormier, retiring Daniel Cormier. Then he fights Francis Ngannou pretty shortly after that, about 5 months later, gets knocked out. Now, it's been 3 years, 7 months since that, but I don't really think Stipe is the type of guy where ring rust will affect him like that. I think, especially after that knockout, the time off only helps. It only helps him, right? Now, John hasn't fought in a year and 8 months, but before that, he hadn't fought in about 3 years. So to say that, oh, well, ring rust affects you, it's like, well, yeah, his last fight with Dominic Reyes was 4 years, 9 months ago. Same amount of time pretty much as DC's last win against Daniel Cormier. The only difference is in between, Stipe got knocked out by Francis 3 years, 7 months ago, and John finished Uragan in a pretty much nothing fight a year and 8 months ago. So I think they're both kind of coming off the same amount of ring rust in that they both haven't had a real big hard test in like 4 years. That kind of neutralizes out. What it comes down to is Stipe's got the steam coming out of his ears. He's just as annoyed as he was when they pulled the Brock Lesnar shit with DC. He's a huge underdog. Everybody's looking past him. Everybody's talking about Tom Aspinall. Everybody's talking about how Jones is going to just win here, and then maybe Jones will fight Aspinall, but Stipe will retire. So everyone's kind of really looking past Stipe in this fight. And I think Stipe is so petty that he's gonna bring in that fucking stubbornness. And I don't, like you said, I don't see him getting knocked out on the feet. And I don't see John having that easy of a time getting Stipe to the ground. I mean, Stipe is a really great wrestler. I mean, think about it. Daniel Cormier didn't get him to the ground. I mean, Fabrice, a lot of really great grapplers couldn't get Stipe to the ground. Stipe is a good wrestler in his own right. And I don't think John's strategy is going to be centered around like sucking Stipe in and getting him to the ground. If it is, I think that's great. But can he finish him on the ground? Maybe. But it's a 5-round fight. And John is coming off of an injury and some serious ring rust. So I want John to win. I believe John is the more skilled fighter. But I also believe this line is so outstretched, and I think that Dana White often gets his party spoiled. You got to think about this year, right? You had Sugar Sean O'Malley lose to Merab in the Sphere. You had Bilal Muhammad beat Leon in London. In all of these situations, it's almost like the UFC has this kind of pre-written agenda for one guy to kind of go on and carry this torch for a market. And in this case, that's exactly what this would be. Think about all that they're doing with the 12-6 elbow rule. They're literally trying to get John Jones's one loss by DQ overturned. So for Dana White, a perfect outcome would be John comes in there, beats Stipe emphatically, takes him down, elbows him. He beats the guy who, was the best heavyweight of all time, who has a win over Francis. And now Dana White can say, now what? John Jones is the GOAT. And whether John Jones retires or fights Tom Aspinall, they have their Michael Jordan. And if he gets those 12-6 elbows off, it almost kind of like rewrites history in the sense that like that one loss ever even happened. And he's got 28 wins. And then they can kind of boost it up to be like, John, you're pretty much 28-0. Khabib was 29-0. Do you want to try to tie his record, blah, blah, blah. But they'll always be able to say John has more UFC wins, more championship wins, more title defenses. John will be their Michael Jordan forever if he wins this. It really does cincher up a perfect kind of archetype for the UFC if John Jones wins this. I just don't think the fight gods have the UFC's best agenda interest at in play here. So for whatever reason, I'm picking Stipe. I'm picking Stipe to win. I think that Stipe is going to be able to chin John. I think he's going to catch him. I think he's going to box him. I think he's going to catch him, and he's going to put him away on the feet before John ever gets a chance to institute the grappling. And even if the fight goes late, I think that bodes well for Stipe. He did it against DC. I think Stipe is the petty god, and I like the odds on him. And as much as John Jones is like my number one, favorite fighter of all time, almost, I think that Stipe is going to get the win here. I'd love to see John Jones get it done. But and by the way, when they first were booked, I was like John Jones all day, all night. But too much has happened. There's too much in the air, and there's too many forces at play that tell me like, Luke, you have to step back and be outside of this storm and just take your emotions out of it. So my official pick is Stipe Miocic to shock the world at Madison Square Garden.
I know this guy had a lot of hype, but he just got beat by a white boy from Ohio. I remember when he said that, when he beat Francis. I remember watching from the living room, literally jumping up and down after every jab that Stipe was landing. So hyped about that. And I think that there's going to be a similar, if you're a Stipe Miocic, Ohioan looking at this fight, I think there's going to be a similar vibe. I think there's going to be a similar, series of events in this fight, similar to that Francis fight. There will be a couple takedowns here and there from John, but over the course of 25, okay, with damage being the prevailing factor in these fights, I think that Stipe is going to be landing the bigger shots. I think he's the better boxer. I think that we have long forgotten the Dominic Reyes fight and how, not insulting or, whatever it is to John's legacy, but shit, man, Dominic Reyes probably won that fight unless you're one of these big, octagon control guys, right?
Well, John won rounds 4 and 5 in that fight, I think.
Based on what? I mean, listen, I'll be honest. Like,
John definitely won the later half of that fight. He definitely won the later half of that fight.
On strikes? Like, did he actually land more
Go
strikes?
rewatch the fight. He 100% won round 5.
Round 1 would probably be in question based on, logic of how fights historically go. But I'll say this. I think that Stipe is a good enough wrestler that, he's not going to be held down for, 10 to 15 minutes of a 25-round fight?
Dan, real quick. Okay, well, real quick. It says here, John Jones landed 26 of 34 in round 5. He landed 20 of 34 in round 4, and both of those were outstriking Reyes. But yeah, Reyes certainly outstruck John rounds 1 and 2 and 3 by the metrics on the UFC's official stats website. So I think John won round 4 and 5, and I think every other round, the big toss-up round was round 3, where John was 19 of 34 and 55% accurate, and Reyes was 26 of 45, 57% accurate.
And that's fine. And John could have convincingly won 3 out of the 5, but being that he lost 2 to Dominic Reyes, a guy that we've all written off comparatively to Stipe Miocic, who is having so much rest going into this fight, which I think is good for him, good for any heavyweight.
And while John's recovering, he's training.
Well, yeah, while John's recovering, for the pectoral and all that, Stipe's been training. He's no bum. Like, he's a blue-collar guy who's out there working his ass off, getting better. Maybe not better based on his age, but John's old too. And, this notion that John is going to not become, because he's always been a wrestler at heart, but utilize that more than he previously has. It's like, well, good luck with that in your 40s, like, to be a wrestler now against a guy who has a background in wrestling himself. And I think Stipe's going to have a striking advantage. It's like the length of John Jones and the teep kicks and the jabs and stuff. It's like, this is a dude in Stipe who's been fighting at heavyweight, fighting Francis Ngannou, like fighting the best of the best, some of the huge heavyweight fights, some big time hitters. I don't think he's gonna be afraid of the jab and like the teep kicks and these range finders. I think Stipe is gonna be game as they come. I love the Petty King narrative. I don't know, man. I mean, I know I've said dog or pass like 15 times on this fight card, but if there was any dog or pass, you're going to take the minus 700 over the all-time heavyweight title defender. It's 2 fights, I get it. But still, a very reputable heavyweight fighter, ton of rest, objectively a good matchup for him. You get him at plus 500. Fuck it. Put all the dog or passes that I said, put them aside. Don't bet them at all, okay? But any dog or pass, do for this one, man. Plus 500. Stipe Miocic, like, possibly Hall of Famer.
Plus 500?
He's plus 500, bro. Like, you could quintuple your money on one bet. So
the greatest heavyweight of all time.
Either just have fun watching an all-time fight or bet Stipe. Like, that's clearly the objectively logical play here at plus 500.
And
I don't know what else to say. Like, the matchup is there. Wrestling, striking, rest, experience, everything is there in Stipe's corner. Of course, he's going up against the all-time great, but everybody falls.
This, right? It's like the UFC does not make their money, does not continue their entertainment legacy off of what's expected to happening. The UFC, and Dana White will tell you this first and foremost, makes their money off of selling holy shit moments. And the holy shit moment is not John Jones going out there and smoking through Stipe Miocic like he did Cyril Gane. That was the holy shit moment when John did that to Cyril Gane. That was the holy shit moment. It was like
that was his first heavyweight fight.
First heavyweight fight, long layoff. Guy Cyril Gane only lost once to Ngannou by a close decision. That was the holy shit moment. And also how quickly he got it done, how quickly Cyril Gane tapped. That was a holy shit moment. But the holy shit moment here is, can Stipe just silence the critics and defeat John Jones, defeat the greatest light heavyweight of all time, the greatest fighter of all time? And Dana White, you got to think, guys, he gets his plans undone time and time again. I mean, and when I say Dana White, I just mean like, in terms of him kind of like crafting sort of the story. And it's not like he's fixing these fights. I'm just saying, like, he has the mainstream public wants to see like a Tom Brady type guy, right? But guys, Tom Brady lost to Eli Manning. Tom Brady lost to Nick Foles. Tom Brady has lost, right? It's not people forget, like in fighting, you forget that like you can lose and still be the greatest of all time. And your fight, Stipe is one of the greatest of all time. John is the greatest of all time. It's like, it's good no matter what. It happens really for the sport. People from the outside won't see it that way, but I'm taking Stipe, and if John wins, I'll be so proud of him. But ultimately, I think that Stipe has a lot of grit, a lot of stubbornness. He takes a hell of a shot. John Jones doesn't pack the type of shot Ngannou does. People forget, man. Stipe almost knocked Ngannou out. He cracked Ngannou and was going in for the kill when Ngannou counter-striked him and put him away. And that was after beating him 5 rounds out of 5 rounds the first time they fought. So, I mean, I think that this is a sleeping dogs. Stipe is a sleeping dragon right here, and it might be his last fight. And
you're grasping for wine, and when you get those wine, you get your cheese and a violin.
And Aspinall, like, everybody's focused on, like, it's like this. It's like when it's Occam's razor. That's what I've been looking for this whole time. Have you heard of Occam's razor? Occam's razor.
Yes.
Everybody's looking for this logical pathway, right? But it's like, no, the Occam's razor of it all is that it's going to be Tom Aspinall on the Believe You Me podcast telling Bisping, and that's what I've been saying. I thought I could be the one to do it. I would have been the one to do it. That's why you should have fought me, and it would have been better. Like, it's going to be Aspinall sitting there going, well, now what? That was my Aspinall. It's only logical that this ends up blowing up in everybody's face. Aspinall's face, the UFC's face, John Jones' face, everybody's face. It's only logical that a chaotic sport gets more chaotic and muddied on next Saturday night. Now what? And guess what? By the way, now what sells more than, well, now we know. Obviously, this is the obvious thing is never the thing that actually sells. You never give the people what they want. You give them what you need. And what you need is Ilya Topuria to finish Volkanovski, Ilya Topuria to finish Max Holloway. That is, you can't always get what you want, but you get what you need, right? You get prolongment. You get more questions than answers. This creates more questions than answers, and that's what the UFC needs more than anything.
Fair enough.
Let's run through them top to bottom. I got Stipe Miocic, Charles Dubronx, Bo Nickel, Karine Silva, Marcio Ruffi, Marcus McGee, Eric Anders, Damon Jackson, Yonata Deniz, Ramiz Brahimaj, Basil Hafez, and Veronica Hardy.
All right. I've got Hardy, Hafez, Brahimaj, Tybura, Jackson, Anders, McGee, Hoofy, Silva, Nickel, Oliveira, and Jones. Dan is AFK.
No, I'm not. I am here. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up my tap. All right. Starting from the bottom here, we're going to go with Veronica Hardy, Oban Elliott. We're going to go Mickey Gall. A little bit of Marcin Tybura, Jim Miller, Eric Anders, Marcus McGee, Mauricio Ruffy. Fuck this fight. Vivian Araujo.
You
Bo
picked Silva.
Nickel. I don't think I did.
Okay,
You
cool.
didn't.
No worries.
You thought it was Natalie Silva.
I thought it was Natalia Silva.
Okay, so
I'm
Araujo
gonna
for
go
Dan.
with. I'm gonna go with Bo Nickel by sub. I'm gonna go with Michael Chandler, and I'm going with Stipe Miocic.
Beautiful. And the Trophy Certified picks will be Veronica Hardy, Eric Anders, Marcus McGee, Marcio Rufi, and Bo Nickel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 Trophy Certified picks. The only one I believe within betting range will be, I think, Marcus McGee and Eric Anders, and maybe Veronica Hardy. So those 3, I think, will be bettable. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining the show. Give us your comments. Let us know what you think. As always, we appreciate them, and we'll see you in the Discord this Saturday night. Sorry I was a little bit away last weekend. I was on my 5-day fast. I had a little bit of a side quest, a little side mission I needed to do. But other than that, I'll be back this weekend. Hopefully. And Dan, what are you and Alex doing this weekend? Should we link up for this epic card or what?
I'm not watching. I'm going camping.
You're going camping?
I'm going camping. I need some Starlink for me lots. If someone can get in touch with Elon, give me some Starlink. That'd be amazing.
You can definitely get Starlink, but you don't think you'll you don't think you'll have service to watch it?
Probably not. I'm gonna try my best, but I'm not hopeful.
You should rent one of those.
It's with my brother. Like blood over everything. I'll cut my wrist right now. Blood over everything.
Well, you should rent a car for the day. It'd be like $86, and you could probably rent one of those cars with Wi-Fi, and then you can link your phone up to the car's Wi-Fi, and then watch the fight.
Possible.
And then if all else, you get one of those big SUVs.
Car has 5G reception. If his phone doesn't, his car won't.
No, cars can have better Wi-Fi than your phone sometimes.
That would suck if I rented the car and it didn't work.
Well, you rent a car that you can sleep in anyway in case shit hits the fan. You don't want to be in that tent. You can always go back in the car.
Nah, where I park is gonna be like we're hiking out to the camp spot, so like car's not even gonna be really viable anyway.
All right, well that's camping time.
I love you. Alex, I fucking love you, man. You would never ask me to do some shit like that.
Hell no. You'll ask me to do it, and I'll be like, "Fuck no."
Dude, selfish kings, dude. Selfish kings over everything. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, Alex, you're welcome to come up down here to Maryland and watch the fight with me if you want.
I have oblos in the morning, so I will not be able to make it, but
Perfect.
I will be watching.
And I think when I come back as a heavyweight, I'll try to do more legally controversial shit.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for running the show. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you later. Goodbye.